Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome, Maverick family. I'm not sure. I thought he might be here already, but he hasn't arrived yet. Maybe he'll be along. I don't know. Skye is scheduled to appear on the program tonight with us to talk about his bid to become Toronto's next mayor. So we'll see if that happens. Hopefully it does. I think it might be an interesting conversation. I know that a lot of you are looking forward to hearing from him. So we'll see what happens on that front. Danielle Smith under fire, the Premier of Alberta, for a conversation she had that was recorded over the telephone with Pastor Arthur Pavlovsky, talking about his arrests, charges, and the way she's dealing with all of that. It's maybe putting her into a little bit of political jeopardy. I'm not sure. My assessment is that it probably isn't as serious as the mainstream media is making it out to be, but this is a legal matter as much as it is a political one. So we'll take a look at that tonight as well, if we have time. That stabbing out in, well, I didn't really provide much in the way of details last night, but there was a stabbing. It was in Vancouver, and I made reference to it simply because the video of the incident was making its rounds on social media, and I saw a politician share it. This politician was not the only one that did. It went viral. It was concerning to me. It's shocking video. We'll talk about that tonight as well. We'll just bring you up to date on what's happening with that. And fallout from the budget that was tabled yesterday, the Canadian budget. And we'll go to question period with Pierre Poilievre. We also have, right after this break, this very short break, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister / Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, talking about those financial matters. So don't go away. Be right back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. I'm not sure if the invitation that I sent to Chris Skye made it through the email system earlier today. I'm just looking to see if the link to the studio that I sent went through, and I'm not sure if it did or not. So I've sent it to him again. Hopefully everything works out. I was really looking forward to having him on the program tonight, but we have other material to cover. In the meantime, lots of other news to talk about, and part of that involves this right here. The Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, on the federal budget, pharmacare, sanctions against Russia, and more in this this newser. Here we go. Let's pick up Justin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. We just had a wonderful sit down with parents to talk about some of the challenges that they're facing, including affordability. Obviously, the reduction in childcare fees here in Ontario and right across the country over the past year has made a huge positive impact on their family budgets. We've heard from families who were facing challenges with mortgage payments, who suddenly saw a reduction in childcare fees that offset that entirely. One of the moms had recently lost her job and was worried about whether she was going to be able to continue to afford childcare and keep looking for a new job. Well, the childcare fees coming down made a huge difference. But we know lots of families struggling with affordability, which is why in this budget, we're moving forward with significant support in targeted ways for families, including with the grocery rebate, with measures to reduce fees and make life more affordable, even as we deliver more in terms of healthcare, outcomes and results for Canadians, even as we build great jobs for the economy of the future by focusing on the middle class. Lots in this budget, lots of things that really matter to Canadians. It was great to be able to sit down with families today. C'est un grand plaisir d'être ici dans le comté d'Ottawa-Sud pour parler avec des familles sur les coûts de la vie et les défis auxquels ils sont en train de faire face. Et évidemment, les coûts des garderies ayant diminué de la moitié au cours de la dernière année a aidé énormément de familles avec les coûts auxquels ils font face. Mais en même temps, le rabais sur l'épicerie qu'on est en train d'envoyer va aider énormément et d'autres mesures dans le budget, dont l'aide pour les systèmes de santé, les soins de santé et les soins dentaires, mais aussi au niveau de l'investissement dans la croissance propre et une économie qui fonctionne pour tous les Canadiens. C'est le travail qu'on va continuer de faire.
Hi, Prime Minister. Marika Walsh with the Globe and Mail. Scotiabank's Vice President Derek Holt issued a rather scathing critique of your budget, saying essentially it's not fiscally restrained. Is he wrong?
Our budget is there to meet Canadians what they need for right now and for the coming years. We're there to support with affordability. We're there to support with the cost of groceries. We're there to help Canadians through the difficult times we are, but in a targeted way that remains fiscally responsible. We have the lowest deficit in the G7, the best debt to GDP ratio, and we preserve our AAA credit rating. We're one of the 3 largest economies in the world with the AAA credit rating, which means that our plan is responsible. It also is focused on delivering the healthcare supports Canadians need, as well as moving forward on the cleaner economy of the future with great jobs for the middle class. So this is the right budget for the time. We remain fiscally responsible, even as we're investing for a better tomorrow. But I'm going to turn to the Finance Minister, who has even more details on that. Please, Jeff.
Yeah, well, look, clearly I agree with the Prime Minister. And the only point, thank you, Prime Minister. I'm not as tall as he is, but I agree with him. And the only point I would add is I think it's worth looking at the comments and the analysis that Stephen Pelosi, the former governor of the Bank of Canada, has published today. And one thing that he underscored is investments in economic capacity are not inflationary, and investments in economic capacity actually grow the size. Yeah, no, but Marika, that's the point. If you are making investments that increase the economic capacity of the country, that is fiscally responsible. And that is what Stephen Pelosi spoke about, wrote about in a report published today. And it's relevant to where we are because he spoke about how our investment in the 2021 budget in early learning and childcare has expanded the economic capacity of the country. It has improved women's labor force participation. That has driven economic growth, made Canada stronger. And his point was that our investments in building the clean economy could very well do the same thing. That's what we believe.
M. Trudeau, j'aimerais revenir sur la question des soins dentaires et du Québec. J'aimerais savoir un petit peu plus de clarté. Jusqu'où vous êtes prêt à aller? Est-ce que vous êtes prêt à donner un droit de retrait complet avec compensation au Québec ou est-ce que vous voudriez des garanties en échange de donner l'argent?
On a mis de l'avant un programme qui va s'assurer que tous les Canadiens en dessous de l'âge de 12 ans qui n'ont pas d'accès à des soins dentaires aient accès à des soins dentaires abordables et accessibles. D'ici la fin de l'année, les Canadiens à faible et moyen revenu qui n'ont pas accès à des soins dentaires d'en dessous de 18 ans vont avoir accès, ainsi que les aînés, ainsi que les Canadiens vivant avec des handicaps. Donc, le but du programme, c'est de s'assurer que tout le monde ait accès abordable aux soins dentaires à travers le pays. On est très content de pouvoir travailler avec le Québec et on reconnaît d'ailleurs que le Québec a déjà assuré que tous les enfants en dessous de 10 ans ont accès à des soins dentaires déjà. Comme dans tellement de cas, le Québec a déjà une longueur d'avance. Ben, nous, on a mis de l'argent sur la table pour que tous les enfants d'en dessous de 12 ans et à la fin de l'année, les enfants en dessous de 18 ans et les aînés et les gens vivant avec des handicaps, mais d'ici quelques années, tous les Canadiens avec un revenu inférieur à 90 000 $ par année qui n'ont pas accès à une assurance dentaire par leur travail vont avoir accès aux soins dentaires. Donc, le but de ce programme, c'est de s'assurer que tout le monde à travers le pays ait accès à des soins dentaires de façon abordable. On est très heureux de travailler avec n'importe quelle province sur des mesures qu'ils veulent faire pour s'assurer que ce soit le fait. Mais c'est ça le but du programme et ça devrait arriver à ces fins-là pour que tout le monde ait accès.
Prime Minister Travis Denraj, CBC News. Many companies are welcoming your clean tax credits, but some want to know what you're doing to make sure utilities are allowing businesses to connect to solar to the grid without all the red tape. And additionally, on air travel, the government is upping the air travel security charge that passengers pay. We already know that passengers are paying a lot for tickets. Why do they need more fees?
First of all, on our incentives, we know that there is an extraordinary amount of interest and investments going into cleaner economy, clean energy around the world, whether it's renewables, whether it's clean generated electricity, whether it's nuclear. There is a lot of excitement around hydrogen, around carbon capture and storage. These are things that we know are part of Canada being a reliable supplier of energy in a net zero future. That's what we're positioning ourselves for. We're going to continue working with provinces, utilities, and energy generators across the country to make sure we're building the future and the future jobs for Canadians right here. People in the energy industry know that there is a strong future because of Canada's leadership, Canada's recognized leadership around the world. Much of what the United States is right now doing on the Inflation Reduction Act is to try and catch up to the work that Canada has been doing steadily over the past 4 years when the U.S. Took a turn away from dealing with environmental responsibility. There are tremendous opportunities for Canada, and we're going to keep building on that. We know that ensuring the security of Canadians and ensuring smooth air travel is extraordinarily important. There need to be investments to improve the experience of air travelers. We need to improve the security and the processing speeds in air travel, and that's something that we are absolutely doing. But we feel it's only fair that those Canadians who are traveling are shouldering a little bit more of that burden, because the alternative would be all Canadians would be contributing with their tax dollars. We think targeting it in the right way, in a reasonable way, is the right thing to make sure that air travel remains efficient and affordable.
Hi, Prime Minister Trudeau.
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Yes.
I want to add one quick point, sorry, Prime Minister, just on the utilities point, because one of the really new things in the budget and in the clean economy plan is that public utilities are now eligible for it. That is a big deal. That is not traditionally the approach when it comes to tax credits. And that's a recognition of exactly what the Prime Minister has said, which is that Canada, on the one hand, has this huge economic advantage, this huge global economic advantage, because we have such a clean electricity grid. But we also recognize we're going to need to double the amount of electricity we generate. So the federal government is there. We're going to be helping provincial utilities so that we can power Canada and so that we can both get the industries that we need, the clean economy industries, and also keep electricity affordable for Canadians. And having said that, and speaking about airports, I unfortunately have a flight to catch, so I'm going to go. Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
Hi, Prime Minister Trudeau.
I will try and take those questions then.
I have a question
good?
for you regarding.
Of course, sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, Prime Minister Trudeau. Cindy Shen with the Canadian Press. Does your government have any intention of moving forward with a national pharmacare program?
We continue to know that no Canadian should have to choose between paying their rent and paying for much needed pharmaceuticals, much needed life-saving medications. That's why we have moved significantly over the past years in reducing drug prices costs with the Canada Drug Agency, with initiatives around bulk buying. We're going to continue to move forward as we have in working with the government of PEI, for example, on delivering more affordable pharmacare for Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
Hello, Prime Minister. Mark Alden from Britain's Channel 4 television. I want to ask you a question about sanctions against Russia, if possible. Canada's very much led the way, led the West response to Putin's invasion of Ukraine. How important are sanctions as a tool in that response? And how important is it for all the Western powers to unite together and impose sanctions on the same individuals?
Well, one of the things that we've seen is that the coherence and the strength of unity of the West's response to Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine surprised Putin, but also surprised authoritarian leaders around the world. I think there has long been a misunderstanding by authoritarian dictators that democracies are somehow weak because we have to check in with voters every few years and get their permission to continue to govern and serve. What we're seeing is that the solid response, the aligned response of Western democracies and allies around the world on recognizing that the violation of the UN Charter, the violation and upending of the international rules-based order that led to such stability and peace in the world for close to 80 years cannot be allowed to stand. That's why Canada and other countries, I will point out that the UK has been right there extraordinarily strong on its pushbacks against Putin, its pushbacks against the illegal war that Russia is waging. And as we've said many times, we will continue to stand with Ukraine as long as it takes, with as much as it takes. The sanctions specifically are designed to emphasize that Russia does not get to profit from this violation of the territorial integrity, the sovereignty of a peaceful neighboring country, and we will stand together as long as it takes. Thank you very much, everyone.
And we're heading downstairs.
Okay, we'll pull out of that. Let's take a break. I'll be right back.
Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
Yeah, so again, I think that maybe we've had a miscommunication with Chris Skye. I don't know if he's going to be here or not. Do not know. I'm just checking some stuff here to see what's going on. Well, maybe we'll try calling him in a few minutes just to see what's going on. I did want to just mention briefly that stabbing out in Vancouver yesterday. The victim did pass away. His name is Paul Schmidt. He was engaged to be married. He had been with his fiancée for 6 years, and they had a 3-year-old daughter. They were out on Sunday, and when I say yesterday, I'm referring to the reference to the video that was posted and was going viral of the incident. But on Sunday, they stopped at a Starbucks, or he did, and he apparently approached someone and was asking the person to stop vaping near the child. And it turned into an argument. He ended up being stabbed. He later died in hospital. The suspect is 32-year-old Inderdeep Singh Gossel. He has been charged with second-degree murder. The video of this incident, as I say, has gone viral. I even saw a politician yesterday sharing it. That's what prompted me to start talking about it last night. It's extremely graphic. It shows a lot of blood loss. I did not run the video. I'm not going to run it tonight. Vancouver police have not really released much information regarding the actual interaction between the two people, the suspect and the victim. But they are asking people to stop sharing that video. I was surprised to see it shared by the politician that shared it. And then I saw it shared by another politician, actually, with a reference to it. And neither one of them actually gave much context. Very little in terms of any information. So aside from being gratuitous, I don't know what the point of posting the video was, because it had no context other than a video of somebody being stabbed at the time. Didn't tell you who, didn't tell you what, other than you could see that it was someone being stabbed. Didn't tell you where, didn't tell you when, certainly didn't tell you why. Although why may be elusive because the whole thing seems very senseless. So there was all of that. So again, our guest has not arrived. So I'm not sure what to do here. I really wasn't prepared for a lengthy broadcast tonight without our guest. I had another guest lined up, and I postponed that interview to make room for Chris Skye. So something has gone awry here. My guess is the email must not have reached him with the link to the studio for this evening's broadcast. So I do apologize if there was a glitch in that. I don't see anything bouncing back here. Maybe it wasn't sent properly. I have sent the link again, and I'm not sure if he has received it. I also sent him a text message. So I don't know. So I'll tell you what, let me just check a couple of things. Another quick promo here, and we'll be right back. I'll get some stuff rocking and rolling here for the show.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just phone him. He puts his phone number out there. It's pretty public. Let's phone Chris Skye. Here we go.
The customer you are calling is unavailable at the moment. Please try again later. L'abonné que vous désirez joindre ne peut vous répondre en ce moment. Veuillez réessayer un peu plus tard. The customer you are calling.
Okay. Well, we tried. Maybe we'll get him on another night. Maybe he'll show up sometime during the broadcast. I don't know. We'll see. So instead of doing that, let's go to the phones. Might as well. I'm just scanning the headlines. I don't see a lot of other stuff going on other than the Danielle Smith stuff. We should touch on that, I guess. Let's do that first. Danielle Smith, Premier of Alberta. For our U.S. viewers and viewers elsewhere in the world, Danielle Smith is the new Premier of Alberta with the UCP, United Conservative Party. She has been sort of against lockdowns, part of, I guess, the pro-freedom movement in Canada to some degree. Certainly conservative. She was elected leader of the party, as a result, became premier, and now heading into an election within the next number of weeks, actually. So she's up against heavy opposition from the New Democratic Party, the NDP, which is more left-wing, socialist, certainly pro-lockdown, pro-mask, pro-everything in that regard, as I'm sure everyone here in Canada is aware. But yeah, Danielle Smith has had conversations with Pastor Arthur Pawlowski. And that's getting her into some choppy political waters. Because the pastor was arrested multiple times during the pandemic, most notably during a speech, or because of a speech that he gave, I guess, out in Alberta during the Freedom Convoy in Coutts, Alberta. And today it has been revealed that through a released recording of a phone call, that she had repeated conversations with Pawlowski and public health officials and legal officials in Alberta. And I think that where this is going is the NDP is going to try to make hay with this by suggesting that she was acting inappropriately and possibly trying to influence the legal process. In much the same way that the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, got into political hot water when he was involved in conversations where he was trying to sway Jody Wilson-Raybould to avoid having legal actions taken against SNC-Lavalin, a company that was being investigated, scrutinized, looked at for its financial practices, I guess, internationally. So Premier Danielle Smith is saying tonight that she has not interfered with the administration of justice, but has acknowledged that she has spoken to Albertans charged in connection with public health violations, including Arthur Pawlowski. And yeah, let me just see if I can get that queued up for you. I think I've got... I am sorry because I was not prepared for this tonight. I was expecting to go down a completely different road. Let me just take a break. I think I've got video of the Premier of Alberta, discussing this. Just a moment.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Fighting the Great Reset by leading the Great Resistance. Maverick News. The antivirus programs for your mind.
Okay, I don't have it queued up. So that's the bottom line. And I am not prepared to do any of this. So we'll just go to the phones for a little bit, and then we'll probably have a short show tonight, because I don't think Mr. Skye is going to be joining us. Okay, here's the number to call if you want to join the conversation, and we can just yak about whatever, and then we'll see where that goes tonight. Hang on just a second. Here you go.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
Okay, getting it set up here for you. Almost there. There we go. And we're ready to take some phone calls. Here we go. Here's our first caller of the night. Go ahead. You're on.
You got the most assault a man without a plan to master all disasters, Rick. It's too bad Chris Skye ain't on tonight.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Well, I know where you'll be tomorrow. You'll be at my buddy's house in Windsor, and that's a fact. I just talked to my buddy, and I should get a hold of Chris Skye to get a hold of you. Okay, so I know where you'll be at about 4 o'clock. I'm not going to say it on here. I might just go do a video for you guys. My favorite place, I'm not allowed in either. So it should be interesting.
Interesting.
So I'll leave it at that anyways. But I'll track Mr. Skye down.
Yeah, he'll
As for the budget, let's get to the budget and not the car rental place. What a joke. Somebody is trying to get Christina Freeland. And by the way, I don't know who does her makeup. Is it Anderson's Funeral Parlor? Morticians do a better makeup job. But by the way, anyways, somebody was questioning her on why we have a 28% more civil servants working for the government. 28% more than we had 7 years ago. That's a big number, Rick.
Huge.
It's huge.
It's a lot of money.
Okay. And when the deficit, our interest is $1 billion a week, just on the interest. We got problems, folks. But they think they deserve a $10,000 a year raise. You will have nothing and you will like it. Well, right now I got a lot of things, but when I start losing things, I'm not going to like it. Okay? It's already almost unaffordable to buy a vehicle. Never mind put the gas in your vehicle that you're going to buy.
Yeah.
Okay, they're making things very unattainable for. There's no more middle class. That shit's all gone. You know, I don't know how people are living on anything less than $50,000 a year and trying to raise a family in this country. I'd like to know. Show me the secrets. I want to learn.
Yeah.
But I can't see it happening. Okay, when you're paying $2,000 a month rent, right there is $24,000 a year. Let's say you got to feed your family. Let's be modest. We're not going to eat $6,000 a month, folks. Let's say your grocery bill is $1,500 a month to feed your family. And that's being really nice. Okay? It adds up and it adds up fast. That's without your gas, your hydro, your cable, your internet, whatever. Okay?
Yep.
People are going to start losing shit. And that's when people are going to start losing their shit mentally. The working class. That's me, baby. Today is Wednesday. I worked 13 and a half hours on Monday night, 13 and a quarter hours last night, and I'm going to work 13 and a quarter tonight, which gives me 40 hours in 3 days of work. And I still got 3 more days to go, or 4, depending if I want to work Sunday. Now, I have to work 60, 70 hours a week to survive. I don't know, Rick. That suicide pill they got out there is starting to sound really nice.
Oh, well. I don't think we want to go there.
I'm going to end it. I'm not going to go out like that.
Hang on. I've got a
That's
call
how
coming in here. Let me take this call. You talk to the folks while I take this phone call for just a second. It's maybe important.
Okay, I'm running the show, bitches out there. I'm running the show. Rick's taking the call. Okay, so I'm running the show. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? On the Mouth of the South. It's my show. Let's hear it. I want to check out your comments. We're going to let the panel weigh in. Who wants to drink? Dottie wants to drink. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Let's talk about taxes. Can you afford another $4,500 a year in taxes? Because I can't. That's a lot of money, folks. It's almost $75 a week in taxes. It's sad. So you got Skye coming on by the sounds of it. No more taxes. We need people in politics that are going to take care of us, plain and simple.
All right.
Rick, you got Skye there?
No, I do have someone who was supposed to be on the show the other night that we sort of delayed. So we've got Weldon, the Thong Man, coming on here in just a minute instead. So we'll have him on.
You're going to put the mouth on the shelf?
No, you can keep on talking too. I would never put you.
Do I get to talk to Waldo? Is it Waldo or Weldon?
Weldon. If you wanted to do that, I'd have to send you a different link because you're on the phone system and it works kind of weird. You have to go in through another.
Can I do that through my phone?
Yeah, I could send it to you. Yeah.
Send me the link. I'd love to speak to Walden.
Sure. Hang on a second here. Let me get his link sent to him.
I guess I'll hang up and send me the link.
Yeah, I have to send it by email here. Hang on. Just don't go away for just a second. Too many things going on here all at once. We're doing this all on the fly. Okay.
So back to taxes, folks. I can't afford it. I don't know how people are doing it, but tell me the secrets. I'm not going to be a thief. Okay, I'm not going to be, what we call it, a hooligan or a hoodlum. I'm trying to do it the honest way. And at the end of the day, it's very, very struggling for me. If I walk off the job, I can't wait till we have a nationwide strike because I'm going to be the first guy going. And I don't give a shit. If I got to be a hooligan, I got to be a thief, I got to be a hoodlum just to make meat. Well, they call it on themselves. They're going to create a whole new spectrum of thieving. And you see it going on. Windsor, Ontario, the other day, for instance. Guy walks into a basics food store downtown, okay, tasered the guy in the store to get the food as he was stealing it. The guy went to stop him, used a taser to feed his family.
Wow.
Another guy, bear mace. They're using bear mace to steal out of the stores. It's getting sickening.
That's terrible, man.
It is, but what are people going to do, Rick? It's either he said it, heat or eat. You can't have it both ways. Food's a lifeline, man. You don't eat, you die.
Yeah.
So I think a cry for help for a lot of people is, you know what? Prison's not so bad for a lot of people because you get your 3 squares a day. You get your hot, your cot, whatever you want to call it, okay? And you get your 3 squares a day and everything's paid for there. You're not starving. Is that the system that they want? Because they're creating something that I don't think we're prepared for, buddy.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? If you're going to join by video, there, use the second one and you can come in over there. Use the last link that I sent you. I sent it to you on your Facebook Messenger thing.
Okay, I'll click off over there.
Okay.
See you guys in a second.
All right. Ciao for now. All right. We're just going to drop out of that then altogether. And we're going to get Weldon on here. Okay. So we'll get rid of that. And there he is with his cool shades.
Hello, you beautiful people. Hey, Rick, how are you? That includes you too, my friend. For your last caller there, that was 3 squares and a cot, by the way. Obviously, well, neither one of us have done any time, right? Obviously. How are you, my friend? I hear we've had some technical difficulties tonight.
Yeah, so we do. And another call coming in from the Toronto area, but I'm not going to pick that up because I don't recognize the number. So
that's where Chris is, though.
Yeah, I know. I just don't think that's him.
Okay.
So it's not the number that I have for him, so I won't pick that one up.
All right.
Yeah. So just to caution you, we are on YouTube, Facebook, so we need to be a little bit careful about how we
Certain
phrase
words.
things. Yeah.
Yep.
So just to make you aware, and Leo will probably be joining us shortly. And you wanted to come on to talk about this thing coming up in Ottawa, I guess
Yes.
is what you wanted to discuss. So let's go down that path and tell me what's on your mind with regard to that.
Well, as you know, the government never goes back on their word, and they always do what they say. And well, this is a very rare occasion where they did it one more time. We were legally given a permit, and then they removed it. They said we could have music and we could have speakers, and then they changed the rules on that. They're all over the place. They're just trying to make our lives difficult.
Okay,
They
so
gave
just
us
back up a little bit, because I don't think a lot of people here maybe are not aware, but there is an event that was planned or is planned, and I'm not sure because this is all new information to me. Actually, I'd not heard any of this, but there's
So what happened was we're all aware that can I call him Treason Trudeau? And the Liberals, is that okay? I already said it.
I guess you just did.
Oops, my bad. That's what I call him because I like to call a spade a spade. That's what he is. Anyways, the Honorable. I got a really hard time saying it.
Okay.
Trudeau. Okay. There was foreign influence in the elections all over the news. We all know that. I'm not making anything up. We're not going down a rabbit hole here.
Right.
It's been all over the news. We talked about he took money from the Chinese. Therefore, the election was rigged. It was unlawful, and they're asking for a vote of non-confidence. So we've got patriots that are working hard, and they found a legal loophole, and they've been working with the law. Stand for Thee, and I believe Awake Canada. There's so many wonderful people doing everything we can to bring our beautiful country, our great country, back to the greatness it deserves. Canada has been renowned around the world for our peaceful, our nature, loving nature. We welcome everybody. Canada. But we're the first ones to run into war. I mean, we were the first one. We'll be there to defend anybody, and we don't want anything going on. We don't want, anyways. I want this weekend to be loving and peaceful. But they've taken away our permit. First they said you can have music and radio and all that and speakers. Now they said no. Now they've retracted the permit that we have to legally protest. The buzz is all over. There's people coming. Everybody's coming. Okay, don't like every time the government's. I don't know if it's Antifa or the government or if it's I don't know who's doing it, but every time they're like, oh man, we can't go. Things have changed, and it just could get ugly, and we might get a ticket, and they might tow our vehicles. Well, guys, if you're in the movement and you're fighting for freedom, and that's going to worry you a little bit, as long as we're doing what we can according to our Bill of Rights, Charter 2, subsection A, B, C, and D, we got the freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of speech. And the biggest one is freedom to protest. And there's a little statement in there that's very important. It says, especially when it has to do with the public interest. Okay? I'm suing police officers and I'm suing security guards and a hospital coming up shortly for the same reason, because they arrested me for legally protesting, which is our Bill of Rights, subsection 2, section D. I think it's D. Anyways, A, B, C, and D. Look them up. They are trying to scare you. Okay, go there. We do it peacefully. We do it legally. That is our rights. And if you're not going to fight for our rights, you might as well have never joined this, freedom movement. Stay home. Okay. I think everybody should go there. Chris Skye's coming there. He's going to be there Saturday. I'm talking every day on stage. I'm going to be like an MC. I'm introducing Chris on Saturday at noon. I'm going there Friday. I don't care. Okay, if the government is going to do what they're going to do, then why are you going to stop? We're doing this to prevent them from their draconian laws. So guys, everybody's got to come down. There's a buzz out there. It's going to be 100 to 200,000 people. And if we get Chris Skye down, there could be even more. But guys, don't let them scare you away. We're not doing anything illegal. This is our government. This is Parliament Hill. Okay. let's have a little bit of respect, and as much as I love them, let's not fly the F Trudeau flags. Well, don't bring hockey sticks. I got an F Trudeau flag and a hockey stick, and I love it. Okay, but guys, just bring little flags. Canadian, wear your shirts. Okay, come on down. We need you. Okay, we need to be there for 3 days minimum. We got a permit. They gave it to us. If they retracted it, it's too late. We've already organized it, and we're allowed to be there anyways. Okay. I don't want any violence. I want it done peacefully. If anything happens, I wish I was there last time, but my truck was stolen when the stuff hit the fan last time. When the horses came in. If that happens, guys, okay, turn your backs to the police. Sit down, lock your arms, lock your legs, sit down, and start singing "Oh Canada." Turn your backs to them. Okay. We can't beat them with weapons. We can't beat them with violence. But if the rest of the world sees that we're loving and we're peaceful and we sit down, we turn our backs to them, and they still trample on our rights and our freedoms, it's a fan loving the truck, guys, all the time here. 1 second here. I'm doing a live video, my friend. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, he's cute. He's got a dog with him. I love it, man. People everywhere are rooting for us, and we need them. We need everybody down there this weekend. Guys, let's do it lovingly. Let's do it peacefully. But please show up. Don't be afraid. There's tons of places you park outside. Down the street. You walk into Wellington. We walk up. They can't stop us coming in. So we'll bring megaphones. We can't bring radios. We'll talk with megaphones. Okay, they're just trying to make our lives difficult. But please keep it peaceful. But we got to do this. If you don't go, well, then just give up. Put your flags away. Stop your protesting, and give up and let the Canadian government do whatever the hell they want.
When did you receive news that they had revoked the permit to assemble on
Jason
Parliament Hill?
Jason Lavassi. They're so it's on. Because I know so many people in the movement, I get text messages all the time. It's like I get all this stuff coming up on my phone. I'm forever getting notices, and they're saying that the permit was rejected or removed. Appeal. I don't know, whatever they call it. It's just debauchery. It's just, again, they're lunatics. They're draconian. They've got an agenda, and they don't want us, standing up for our rights. They want us to shut up, sit down, and do as we're told. And they're slowly withering away all of our rights and freedoms. And this is the time to stand up. There's never been a better time. There is no better evidence that Trudeau didn't break the law. One of the highest is that you cannot have outside interference, and we had foreign influence in the election. It was rigged. It's a damn rigged election. He got money. He was caught sending money back to China, as you know, Rick. Like, how stupid is that? Like, at least go, I don't know what you're talking about, but he sent the money back. He was caught red-handed. Pierre Poilievre, which I don't trust, he called him out on it.
There he is. There's the man. Hello, Leo. Leo? Weldon, Leo.
Weldon.
Hello, Leo. Who's
Man.
Leo, my friend? I can't really see the suns in my eyes.
Great glasses.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rick, I wanted to fill in some time because of the technical difficulty. Do you want me to let you go with your with
No,
Leo
he wanted to participate because you're here.
Yeah, I thought he said.
Leo?
I thought he said you were bringing Waldo on. Everybody's
This is Weldon. It's Weldon. But
if I had
like,
that
where's
orange
Weldon?
toque, if I had that orange toque, you'd never know the difference.
I love it.
How are you, my
Yeah.
friend?
Good. How's the weather in Barrie?
I'm actually in Lindsay right now. I'm working at a commercial construction job, and I gotta go back to Barrie tomorrow morning and finish the job there. And then 6 a.m. we've got a big convoy. We got lots of people. We're leaving. We're meeting up 3 different groups, and we're coming into Ottawa. We're coming in loving. We're coming in peaceful, and we're coming in under our Bill of Rights and Charter of Freedoms, baby.
So you're just like me. You're working class. We're gonna have nothing, and we're gonna like it at the end of the day, right?
See, where have I heard that before?
Exactly. You know, I'm working for nothing at the end of the day. Okay. And I'm working 70 hours a week, brother. Okay. I don't even have time to hold a picket sign and strike if I wanted to go on a strike, nationwide strike. But I will make time for that. That's a fact.
There's a lot of people like that. But, you know, we're not working for nothing. The government's so broke. You know, we all got to pay more taxes because they need to keep spending it and giving it away. So the poor government, you know, we need to work. We need to amp it and ramp it up. You know, you need to work 90 hours a week and you'll love it. So,
yeah, I'm going to love it. You know, I'm a machinist in a tool shop, right? This is my new jail cell, by the way.
Nice.
Right. And this is my new jail cell. And I put a lot of time in here every night, 13 and a half hours on Monday. I was telling Rick, 13 hours and a quarter last night, and probably 13 or 14 hours tonight. I go in at 3 in the morning. Sometimes I stay till 7 in the morning. If I don't do that, then I have to go back to, what did we say? Oh, there he is, Mr. Chris Skye, finally.
Hey,
Hey, I just talked to Brian. Brian said you're going to be at his house, Chris, tomorrow. And I told Brian to get a hold of you to get on here.
I was in a meeting. Our phones were off. I didn't see the time. And then when I got off, I was like, holy shit. I didn't know we were in the meeting for that long. I am so sorry, guys. I already had another show today. I was in meetings all day.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, mister. It's always a pleasure to watch you.
Yeah, so I appreciate
I'm
you.
I'm going to try to hook up. If you guys give me 1 sec, I'm going to try to hook up the sound to the car so I can hear you properly.
Sure.
So you will be in Windsor tomorrow, I heard, eh? But it's private, I heard.
How did you know about that? It's supposed to be a secret.
I'm the mouth of the South, the man without a plan, the master of all disasters, brother. I know everything.
Apparently, Jesus.
I was going to come and meet you again for the 10th time.
Well, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be coming there tomorrow. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to get this sound proper. Give me 1 second. I am really sorry.
While he's working on that, Chris, I can give you an update. Apparently, they've withdrawn the permit for Ottawa. We're not allowed to have sound now, and they've retracted the permit. And everybody's like, "Oh, well, I don't know if I should go now." So I come on, to kind of fill in the gap until you got your technical difficulties dealt with. But
actually, he just popped off there. He's not even linked in right now. He's going to have to reestablish. So he can't hear you at the moment, Weldon.
No,
that's funny, hey, Rick. Anything south of London that happens, the mouth of the South knows everything that happens down south of London, right? So.
Yep, you are connected.
Very connected. I was telling Rick the other night, a good friend of mine, Wes Weber. He said, "Who's that?" He's a really good friend of mine. Lives in Toronto. He was a counterfeiter, and he was convicted for about $40 million in counterfeit $100 bills. It's called the Weber bill. And his money was so clean that it's still in circulation today. He's on Masterminds of Crime. I'm going to get him on here for Rick, along with Mark Emery and a few other of my friends, and get the show going.
Yeah, look forward to that. Those would both be fantastic interviews to have. I remember Mark Emery from my younger years when he had City Lights bookstore in London, Ontario. I used to go down to that bookstore all the time. And I interviewed him as a young reporter a few times. But
he's quite the character, Rick. Yeah. He's talented. He's smart. He's articulate, just like Wes Weber. When you get to meet Wes Weber, I've sat in meetings, business meetings with Wes Weber, and people said, "Is that your lawyer?" I said, "No. He's just here to guide me because he's a businessman and he knows what time of day it is, right? When you're dealing with City Hall, you're dealing with politicians. Okay, the guy's been around town, right? So, and the remarkable thing about his story, once he tells you the story, you can watch it. He's on Masterminds of Crime. It's called the Weber. I think it's called the Weber Bill. YouTube. But he was on the show Masterminds of Crime, right? And in that segment, I think he only got about 6 months in jail at the end of it, right? For $40 million Canadian counterfeit currency that's still in circulation today, which is pretty remarkable. So talk about a license to print.
There he is. He's back.
I switched devices, guys, because I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't get it to come through the car's Bluetooth. We're on the move right now. I'm on my way to Niagara Falls. I have another meeting and another show at 8 o'clock. So my day is literally by the friggin' second. And my campaign team's not even here yet. And our campaign's not even officially underway. But I've never been so busy in my life. I've never slept so little in my life. But I've never been more excited in my life because we got an opportunity right now for something very, very powerful, very important. I'm going to get a bigger platform than I ever have before. And when I win as mayor, I'm going to be put in a position where I can help a lot more people than I ever even imagined. And I can put more hurt on the people that are doing this agenda to us than I could ever have imagined. So I've never been more fired up. And they're going to try to come at me with everything they got. They've been trying. They had elections, Toronto threaten me. They had Pierre Poilievre and his lawyers, Goodman's Law, threaten me. They had the RCMP arrest me and my wife 5 days ago. They banned me from Edmonton Airport to try to stop me from flying here. They had Airbnb block my account so I couldn't rent the house I needed for my campaign team. They had the Old Mill cancel my friggin' April 16th event, making me get another venue.
And you're the reason why they're trying to cancel Ottawa this weekend. They took the permit back. I don't know if you've heard that yet.
I did hear that.
It's all your fault, you criminal.
It is my fault, and I think the reason they did that is so people like me and you, if we go down there, they can try to say that we're inciting an insurrection because now we don't have a permit, and then they can either make me look really bad for my political campaign, or B, even arrest me. Because since I just got off my big charges yesterday, if everybody knows about that, assault with deadly weapon on police officers, threatening to kill all the premiers in Canada, and dangerous operation of a motor vehicle to boot. They wanted to throw me in jail for years. They were dragging my... Of course, and they dragged my name through the mud for the last 2 years. I wasn't able to drive. They took my gun license, all my guns. They took my driver's license. And even after I was found completely not guilty yesterday, I still had all the same conditions. They still have my guns. They still have my gun license. And I had to fight just to be able to drive again. And now, even though I was found not guilty in court, I have to go and do a special hearing just to get my own property back and to be able to get a PAL again. This is after being found completely not guilty. This is after being arrested 26 times. This is after beating 60 plus charges in 4 or 5 different provinces. It's ridiculous. And they're targeting me.
But we're free, Chris. To remember that. We're free, right? It's all good.
If people think we're free when they can do this to me, they can do this to anybody. And they're going to do it to anybody who stands up. And if you don't think that's true, well, you saw what happened with the trucker convoy. How many business licenses got pulled? How many people's bank accounts got frozen? How many people got trampled or beat up by paid thugs? The government will do whatever it has to do to continue itself. That's its number one priority. Continuity of government at your expense if you're in the way. By the way, so
just before you came on, Chris, I was telling everybody because it's all a buzz on the on social media, and I said, guys, if you're not going to stand up for your rights, you might as well have never gotten involved in this movement in the beginning. Go home, you go in your little shelters and stay hidden. Everybody's got to get to Ottawa this weekend. We got to exercise our Bill of Rights, Section 2, A, B, C, and D, and everybody's got to get down there.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't think Ottawa's a good idea anymore. I think Ottawa's a setup. And I think Ottawa was a setup from the beginning. Because in order to get a permit, and I told you this on the phone, I told you this, Weldon, I didn't like the idea because he said he's going to get a permit for 3 days. And then he said he's going to sit in as long as it takes after the fact to make sure that Justin Trudeau resigns. That makes no sense. Why would you get a permit?
It's an open permit.
But you know they're not going to keep renewing it indefinitely. You know they're not going to renew that indefinitely. So he knew, as well as I did, as well as anybody with sense did, that you're going to put all those people in a position that the permit's going to expire, and then the government's going to have the legal authority to come down on them. And it's going to be harder it's going to be harder authority to come down on them because they had a permit, they signed their name to a permit for a specific period of time. If you're going to do a protest like that where you're going to sit in and you're going to try to sit in and outlast the government, you don't ask for a permit. You just do it. The very act of asking for a permit already negated that. And now that they took the permit away, if people like me show up there, they're going to use it against us politically, they're going to use it against us legally, and they're going to use it against the whole movement. And I don't even think it's a good idea to go there now that under those auspices, now that the permit got changed. If people were going to go there for an actual freedom protest, and people were going to go there to talk about stopping 15-minute cities, talk about stopping the personal carbon allowance, talk about stopping digital ID and things like that, it would make sense. To go there now without a permit and say, we're here to try to force Justin Trudeau to resign and try to remove the Liberal government, well, you're just setting yourself up for all kinds of problems. Especially now that the permit's been revoked.
We don't need a permit. We're legally allowed to protest. That's our Bill of Rights.
What do you
They're
think?
going to tell you.
If everybody's going to give up, then just put your flags, go home, and let the government do whatever the hell it wants to do.
A protest is one thing. Having a sit-in in Parliament demanding that the Prime Minister resign and demanding that the Liberal Party relinquish power is a little bit different. They're going to call that an insurrection.
He took foreign influence, Chris. He took foreign influence. We're going
This
there
is
to
true.
stand
I'm
up
not
and say that is wrong.
I'm not disagreeing with the.
I have to say, I agree with Chris.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you, Rick.
What do you think of a nationwide strike like they're doing in France and in Israel? Okay, we're taxed to death. I can hardly even breathe at 70 hours a week working. Okay, a national strike across the board. You cut the head off the serpent. You take the money away from them.
If we could arrange that in Canada, I'd be all for it. The problem is Canadians and strikes and organizing millions and millions of them to do it is a lot easier said than done because Canadians are still apathetic. Our biggest strength
is about 6 months to make it to hurt them. You got to do it for a long time to hurt them. They got billions.
And that's the problem. In places like France, where they have culture and they have history, the people are tightly knit. They can do that, and that's why you're seeing protests in the millions and millions of people, and that's why you're seeing those protests carry on. But in Canada, those kind of protests over a strike, most Canadians still believe in their federal government. The biggest strength we have right now is the fact that our movement used to be just the anti-maskers, just the anti-vaxxers, just the so-called conspiracy theorists. Now, we have a very large portion of the population that took that vaccine and either got vaccine injured or realized they took it for absolutely no reason except they got coerced by the government. So now we're at a point in time.
Experimental vaccine.
Yes, we know that. And now we're at a point in time where there's lower amount of trust in the government, the media, and the medical establishment than ever before. That is why I took the opportunity to try to run for mayor, because I believe that the people are ready for real change. The people are ready for someone with integrity. The people are ready for someone with transparency. The people are ready for someone that they can contact. Just like you could contact me, Weldon, anyone can contact me. They know my number. It's 416-400-9994. And I challenge any mayoral candidate or any political candidate anywhere in the world to go and give out their personal phone number to all of their constituents to prove that they are actually representatives of the people, accountable to the people, and reachable by the people. Let's see who does it. I bet I'll be the only one.
Can I tell you about the first time I called you a little bit?
Go ahead, brother.
So I just coughed. I got a phone call. I think
call.
I'm gonna have to take 3 months off of work.
I got a phone call from an independent news guy, and he called. He wanted to interview me on my opinion of Chris Skye running for mayor. I said, well, anybody who's doing what he's doing, you got to give him an applause. And he wanted, well, what do you think of personally? And I said, well, there's so much gossip out there. I said, you got to go straight to the horse's mouth. I've heard so many stories, but they say the same thing about me. We got to stop the hating and start the love. Let's get the facts straight. And he goes, well, get the facts straight. Give Chris a call. And I said, well, I don't have his number. So he gave me his number, and I called him up. Were you at West End when I called you?
Yeah, I was still in Edmonton.
So what was it? Must have been like 7 in the morning because I called. I know it was like 9 or something in the morning. I didn't know if I woke him up, but as soon as I heard his voice, I went, holy shit, this is Chris Skye. And he goes, well, who the fuck did you think it would be? You called me. And right away, I love the guy. We talked. This is our future mayor. He didn't know me from a hole in the ground. I called him up. He talked to me for an hour. We talked about everything. We talked about everything we've been through. And we had, you know, and he told me call him anytime. And you know, he calls me up, I call him up. This is not just a politician. He's not a politician. He's one of us, and everybody needs to vote for him. He's our truest hope right now. Toronto is a hot spot for politics. And guys, well, tell him we need donations, okay? Go ahead, Chris. Back to you. Tell him send some money in. You want to get our government back on track. And
Well, if you don't mind, Weldon, I'd like to maybe ask a couple of questions.
Please do. I like to answer questions. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. You're not listed, by the mainstream media as a candidate yet. Is that because you're dealing with a residency issue? I think you said that you're not officially able to you're not, it's April 1st or something.
April 3rd is when everybody is eligible to be a candidate, and I have a property in Toronto. Everybody's lying and trying to pretend like I don't, and it's a rumor going around, just like the rumor that I was vaccinated, just like the rumor that my teeth are fake, just like the rumor that anything they say about me. It's all bullshit. I have a property in Toronto I'm going to be using to register. I am going to have the nominations that I need, the 25. There's nothing they can do to stop me from registering as a candidate. The only reason the mainstream media is not listing me as a candidate is because they're absolutely terrified of me, because I'm the only one that represents actual change. I'm the only one that will stop the 15-minute city agenda. I'm the only one that will stop the carbon allowance, the digital ID, the digital currency. All the rest of these cronies are exactly that. They're politicians. How many of them? What did they do in the last 3 years? I was fighting for everybody. I was getting arrested for everybody. I was fighting these very politicians that what did they do in the last 3 years? Every single time they voted to extend the lockdowns. Every single time they voted to give themselves pay raises. Every single time they voted for every restriction that destroyed people's lives. Well, I was fighting these people tooth and nail. They were doing everything in their power to make your lives a living hell. And now they want to take control of Toronto and bring you to the next level of tyranny. And I'm the only one that's there to stop them.
So some of those issues, like the personal carbon credit, the digital ID, those are things that are coming down more from the federal and provincial levels, are they not? So how would you, as the mayor, tackle those kinds of issues?
The 15-minute cities is all within the municipal budget. I would make sure there's no municipal budget for any 15-minute city design. As soon as I see developments that are going to take away car lanes and add bike and pedestrian lanes, they're going to take away underground parking and remove the minimum parking and replace it with maximum parking, those are not going to get funded. It's that simple. And we're not going to let it happen. And there's lots of ways. And there's lots of ways we can stop digital ID in municipal levels. We can pass bylaws under the Strong Mayors Act that forbid Toronto businesses from using digital ID, even if they put it in at the federal level. So, and when they see Toronto standing up and doing things like that, how many other municipalities will put pressure on their elected representatives to do the same and keep their freedom intact? That's what we're going to do.
The Strong Mayors Act applies in Toronto and Ottawa, would give you special veto powers.
Yes.
But a lot of people are concerned that it's maybe too much power, that it becomes sort of dictatorial at a certain point.
They still put a clause in there that if 66% of council tries to go votes against your veto, that you can be overturned. So there are still safeguards in place, and I wouldn't be using it in a way like they used it. They use it in a way to impose restrictions on people's lives. They use it in a way to close down businesses. They use it in a way to try to force you to stay home or get fines. I would use it in a way to prevent them from implementing the next phases of their agenda that are going to take away more freedoms and more financial stability from every single person in the country.
But you have a pretty woke council there, so you'd be at odds with a lot of them, I would think.
Pardon?
You have a pretty woke council. I think you'd find yourself at odds with a lot of those councillors. I'm not intimately involved or familiar with Toronto municipal issues, but that I think you're going to be up against a real challenge there.
Well, guess what I would do? Any councillor that's going to vote against the will of the people, I'd make them public. I'd hold a press conference. I'd put them before the people. And then we'll see if they still vote the way that they're supposed to vote or the way that their bosses told them to vote. And by their bosses, I mean the people that are paying them behind the scenes. The people that all made them vote for extended restrictions, the people that all voted for their own pay raises. We'll
Right.
see how it is when they're actually accountable to the people. And we're going to see how many councillors actually stick around when we start going and we start going into the corruption in the Toronto government. Because when I called and when I go online and I try to ask them, hey, can you give me a breakdown of where the $16.11 billion budget goes by department? They said absolutely not. How can you only have so many departments within the government. You have $16 billion budget. So technically, it shouldn't be too hard to figure out how many billion or hundreds of millions went to each department that should add up to 16.1 billion. But for some reason, that's a secret. You know what that means? That means they're stealing billions of dollars every year. Billions of dollars that could be put back into communities. And at the same time, they're creating the crises. The number one crisis in Toronto, besides the cost of living crisis, is the housing crisis, which is part and party of the cost of living crisis. And I've been a developer for 20 plus years. And one of the hardest things to do in Toronto is get permits. And the red tape and bureaucracy involved costs you months and months of delays. Those months of delays cost millions of dollars in interest payments and salaries for these giant corporations. And it slows down how much product can actually be developed and built. So as a mayor, not only could I save billions of dollars from the budget and put that back into the minority communities and the poorer communities and the more vulnerable citizens like homeless and veterans who actually need that money, well, then I could do things like lower the time it takes for permits for developers and builders to be able to actually build faster and more efficiently and increase the overall production in the city, which would help stabilize housing prices and actually stabilize the so-called housing crisis altogether. But they don't want to do that, because they like having crises. Because when they have crises and they have emergencies, it gives them the opportunity to steal more money, and it gives them the opportunity to take more power. And every single time, the people lose.
So you're looking already at a budget crisis there. And in fact, I think the acting mayor today addressed this in some sort of a news conference. You have almost, I think, $900 million shortfall that they're hoping will be filled in with some transfer payments that seem murky and may not actually arrive. So how would you deal with that immediate crisis?
I gotta go, guys. I gotta go. Sorry. I just want to quickly say about the 15-minute cities, guys. If you don't believe that, go and look at any subdivision that's been built in the last 30 years. There's one entrance in and one entrance out. Chris, I love you. I hope the hell I see you Saturday. If not, I hope to see you guys soon. Leo, nice to see you. Rick, always a pleasure. I gotta go, my friends. Peace and love.
Thanks. See you, Weldon. Take care, my friend.
See you, Weldon.
Rick, to answer your question, the very first thing I would do as mayor is go through the federal budget with a forensic accounting team and try to save every dollar I can. And I guarantee we wouldn't save 900 million. We'd save a couple billion. So I'd be able to get rid of that budget shortfall like that and still have a shit ton of money left over for social programs and to reinvest in the city and reinvest in the people. That would be the very first thing I tackle. Because when they tell you they're going to get a $900 million federal money, what does that mean? There's only one taxpayer, Rick, whether it's federal, provincial, or municipal. It's coming out of your left pocket, your right pocket, or your jacket pocket every single time. So they're literally just shuffling the money around, but every single time it's coming from your pocket. Every single time. How does a city like Toronto, that has a higher GDP of most countries in the entire world and only have to service a few million people, run a $1 billion shortfall? That means there's more corruption, theft, and waste in Toronto than virtually any other city in the world. And you know what that means? That means there's more room for improvement in this city than any other city in the world. And we've seen it over the last 30 years, a slow, steady decline in the standard of living in the city. And every single year, as the government gets bigger and the government does less with more, it's been asking the population to do more with less. And we can finally change that, flip it, and get us back on a path of progressive improvement. So 30 years from now, we're in a better situation, not in a dire situation, because that's where we're headed. We went from a greatest city in the world to a really bad situation. And in another 20 years of where we're headed, it's going to be a dire situation, probably unfixable. But we can fix it, and we can fix it right now.
Well, you are right. These problems with the finances started 25 or 30 years ago around the time of amalgamation. So there's no question about that, with no real plan for the budgetary process. What are your views on mega projects like the Gardner Expressway rehabilitation?
Well, if they're going to do it as inefficiently as the Eglinton Avenue place, my wife is an American citizen. We've been married almost 10 years. She's been here almost 13 years. She remembers 13 years ago them still working on that same intersection. So to me, I think that's probably the longest running money laundering scheme in Canada. Because if that was done by a private company, they would have been fired about 150 times by now. But somehow the city just keeps getting away with extending it year after year after year. We don't even know how many billions they've wasted so far. So I would work on all these construction improvements, but I would do it in a way where it's a public and private partnership. And I wouldn't be just giving out contracts to my friends. I'd be giving out contracts to the people that are going to do the job for the cheapest price, the most efficiently, create the most jobs, create the most GDP, and give us the best possible result.
So you're in favor of these citizen advocacy groups that are calling for a review of the expressway project?
I would call for a review just because I don't believe they're going to do it efficiently. And I would call for a review budgetary wise, not because I don't believe in the project, but I believe the way they're going to do the project, they're going to waste a lot of money. They're going to steal a lot of money. So I'd want to do the project, but I'd want to have the reins, and I'd want to keep everybody on a very, very short leash. And we would do massive analysis to see what we believe it would cost in the private sector and get multiple companies to price it out, just like we would in the private sector. And that's how we would do it more efficiently. And at that point, I would be 100% in favor of it when I know it's being done right, and I know they're not wasting money, and I know it's going to have a net benefit to the city, not just be another friggin' hole of money laundering and corruption.
Yesterday, the Premier, Doug Ford, said that people should not vote for any mayoral candidates that would cut funding to Toronto police. What's your position on that?
I agree. I hate to say it, but I agree with Doug Ford. I think we need more police, but I think the police need to be reappropriated. What was their primary goal the last 3 years? Revenue generation. Giving single mothers tickets when their husbands just got fired from their jobs and their kids are going through mental health crisis, and you're going to give them thousands of dollars of fine because they decided to sit on a park bench in front of their house. That kind of garbage has to stop. And if we reappropriated the police and we gave them new directives to actually serve and protect the public, rather than think of each citizen as a cash cow they can extract funding from, I guarantee you there would be a total change in attitude, and people would start respecting the police again, and the police would start protecting and being more involved in the communities, and these things like the TTC violence would slowly go away. And so our streets would be safer, happier, and I don't believe in cutting the police budget, but once again, I believe in going through it with a fine-tooth comb and finding ways to save money. And so then we could use the same budget they already have to hire new officers and reappropriate those officers for roles that I believe will be far more beneficial to the community.
So you would take a seat on the police services board?
Oh, of course I would.
Yeah, not every
100%. I want to be directly involved with them because I think they're an integral part of the community. I think one of the main pillars of having a safe and happy city is having a really good relationship between the police and the community. And that would be one of my primary objectives, is to repair that fractured relationship. Because when I was young growing up, we looked at the police like heroes. Now when young kids look at them, they look at them like scared of them. And it shouldn't be like that.
Did you want to ask something, Leo?
Yeah, actually, you know what? There's nothing that Chris Skye just said that I don't disagree with. Okay, everything he said is spot on. What has to happen? Okay, when you're in Windsor tomorrow, try take have Brian take you to the Gordie Howe Bridge. Okay, we've been on that project since 2007, and it's still not even close to being done, brother. So
that's scary. See, that's a one thing that I'm different from every other candidate. From 18 years of age, I was working in the private sector in the development industry, which meant I had to deal with the public sector. So I had to be able to cut through the red tape, deal with the bureaucracy and all the layers of garbage, but still be within the budgetary and time constraints of the private sector. Nobody else can say that. Nobody else can say that they were able to work in the public sector with the efficiency of a private sector employee. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for 20 years. So not only do I bring that to the table, that efficiency and that frugality and that ability to really, really make every dollar count, but I'm in a very unique position to understand the 15-minute city and understand how it's going to affect people. And it's not in a good way.
You know what? I seen you a month ago. I seen you in Toronto. I think when we had the march going on, the last march in Toronto. I told you you're gonna have to get rid of that couch in the mayor's office. It's seen more ass and crack pipes and scandals than you can count.
Okay.
And
There's a question here from somebody in the audience. Says, what would Chris do different than Faith Goldie? She had a great platform as well, but was shut down by media and was denied debating. Go, Chris, go. That's from MM.
Number one, Faith Goldie did not have nearly the following that we have. Not even friggin' close. I don't even know why people compare me to her. The only reason we're comparable is because we had similar ideology. But she did not have nearly the platform we have. She did not gonna have the resources we have. She did not have the campaign team we have. I have a literal all-star campaign team. Every single person on my team is the best of what they do. And unlike all the other political candidates, I didn't grab these people by having my people come and throw money at them. No, they sought me out because they saw me as their best opportunity to affect the change we need in this country. So when you got people with these special skills and you got people with this passion that are actually coming out and volunteering their services, their time, and their skill set, there's nothing stronger than that. And nobody's going to be running a campaign like me. No one rented a house for their entire campaign team to come and live under the same roof. No one's going to be working 20 hours, 22 hours a day. No one's going to be doing multiple shows a day like I do and going to multiple venues a day like I do, because nobody has that drive. No one has the passion. No one has the energy, and nobody's doing it for the right reasons. All these other candidates are there because they see it as a political opportunity. They see it as a job opportunity, a career opportunity, a pay raise, a power grab. To me, it's a sacrifice for my lifestyle, but for the movement and for what we've been trying to accomplish, it's a death blow, because Toronto is like the jugular vein of the World Economic Forum agenda. And if we can stop the 15-minute city agenda there, the carbon allowance, digital ID there, other cities, other provinces will want to follow suit. And that will reverberate not just around Canada, but right down south to the United States. There's going to be a revolution of thought in the United States very soon, and it's happening right now as we speak.
Shake it up, Chris. You're gonna shake it to the core, and I love it. You got enthusiasm, you got backbone, you got wit, you're intelligent, you're young, you're vibrant. Okay, and that's what we have to do in politics. Shake it up, man. Shake it up.
Wow.
Rick, I love your questions, Rick. Keep them coming.
Yeah. So how are you going to reach out across the political spectrum to get, enough people to vote for you? Because I think your base of support is pretty much within what people would describe as the freedom movement, but you need to appeal to a broader cross section to win. Although, the vote's going to be split up. There are a lot of candidates, so it's hard to say how things will shake down.
No, you know who I appeal to more than anybody, Rick? The non-voter. That's who I appeal to, Rick. And you know how many people voted in the last mayoral election for John Tory? Only 29% of the eligible voters. That means 71% of the people, they weren't liberal, they weren't conservative, they weren't left, they weren't right. They were non-voters because they understood that none of those candidates represented their interests. When I run, why do you think the media doesn't want to mention me? Because they know if they mention me, all those non-voters, which represent 71% of the electorate, are going to come out and they're going to vote, and they're going to vote for me. Because I've never voted in my life, but I would vote for me. And so will the other people that think exactly like me. And that is the biggest demographic by far.
PDS says, for question of Chris Skye, will Doug Ford grant you powers for you mayor when you win? I don't understand.
I guess he's trying to say if Doug Ford's going to try to block me from being able to. He said he wouldn't do that on TV no matter who won. So I don't think he would try. If I do things that are really against people that are close to him, I'm sure he will try to help them out. But it's not like he can really do much. He could try to slow down the rate at what we get our funding from as the premier, but he couldn't really prevent me from running the city the way that I want to or the way that I need to.
Yeah, Laro says, is he married and a family man?
That's my wife right there, that beautiful, wonderful goddess. That's Jenny, and she's driving right now. We've been married almost 10 years. And we have 8 dogs at home. We run a wolf hybrid sanctuary. So we have about 4 or 5 we rescued and the other ones we bought. But we take wolf hybrids in that other people say they can't handle or they're bad dogs, and we rehabilitate them.
So you've kind of jumped around a little bit politically because you had some affiliation with the Republican Party of Canada. Then you sort of had a falling out with Maxime Bernier from the PPC. I think that's been patched up. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've at times told people not to vote. Now you're asking people to vote for you. Can you just explain what your political ideology is, or help me make some sense of where you're at?
Of course. With the Republican Party of Canada, I thought it was a great idea when I thought the man that was doing it was a genuine person. He basically passed himself off like a Canadian version of Donald Trump, a multi-billion-dollar banker with the same type of ideology. And then I found out he was nothing but a con artist and a fraud. And he's actually one of the reasons I had all those charges against me, because he knew I was going to have him charged for fraud when I found out he was stealing money from people. So instead, he called the police and said I threatened to kill him and all the premiers in Canada, and lied and said he had a tape recording. And that was the basis for all those charges against me. So Rob Carbone, and if you look him up and look at his record, he has a very lengthy record for fraud, theft, uttering death threats. And these are not charges. These are convictions. So he's a career criminal for the last 30, 40 years. So that's why I didn't want to associate with him. With regards to Maxime Bernier, I never had association with the PPC, and I never really supported the PPC because I just believe that he's a leader that's not going to be able to let them win. I do believe there's a lot of good people in the PPC party, because there's people that are from the private sector. There's people that have been pillars of their community for 20 plus years running. So out of all the parties that are in politics today, I believe the seats are filled by the PPC are the best, but I just don't like their leadership because I believe he's weak. I believe he'll never win a seat. He'll never be able to get them the kind of funding they need to ever be a real contender. And I think if he was actually serious about the party, he would step aside and let somebody else lead it that actually has more chance to bring the party where he would want it to be and where all the people in the party want it to be. But I was never had a falling out with Max or the PPC party. It was more of a fact that when I was invited to speak at the Supreme Court in July, and it was supposed to be a freedom rally, and I was invited by No More Lockdowns and the PPC party, once I drove the 5 hours.
Oh, we froze up there.
I'm still here.
He'll come back. There he is. He must be going through a cell tower change or something.
He said the name wrong. Rob Carbone. I'm trying to look it up now.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
You kind of broke up there, Chris, so we lost you for a moment. We lost your signal for about 60
Where
seconds.
did you lose? Where did you lose me from?
Where you were talking about going to speak at the event. You were invited,
yes.
And you said you were invited, and then you broke up.
Yeah, I was invited to speak just a couple days before the event. I had the emails to prove it. They made a flyer, put my name on it, and they used me to bring a lot of people there. And then when I got there, I was pulled aside by Mark Friesen, who's a member of the Freedom Movement, but also a member of the PPC and a good friend of mine. And he's like, sorry, Chris, we had an internal risk assessment, and we decided it's not in our best interest to allow you to speak. So at that point, I realized they basically used me to bring people there to a so-called freedom event, and then they wanted to hide. So I wasn't having that, and I didn't appreciate that, and I didn't like the way that they tried to do that. I thought it was underhanded, sneaky, but that's what politicians do. And with regards to not voting, I believe that federal elections are pretty much a moot point because we only have a selection of 2 people. We have Trudeau or we have the Conservative Party candidate. That's it. Nobody else has a mathematical possibility of winning. So it's very easy to rig an election. They don't even have to rig it. They just have to give you a choice of 2 people that they control, and you lose. But at the municipal thing, it's a different story. the municipal politics, especially mayor, is the highest ranking office in the country that has no political affiliation. There's no liberal or conservative or NDP as a mayor. You're just a person. And that allows you not only to bypass and overcome all those points of division that they'll try to use to ostracize a candidate like me, but it allows me the unique opportunity to unite the city.
Yeah. So do you have any affiliation with any political group? I mean, I still see this support from within the freedom movement, or whatever people want to call it. Some people are now, there's this unity movement, there's the freedom movement, there's this movement, that movement. But you're not really affiliated with any political party at this point.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I do that by choice.
Fuck it. I'm moving to Toronto now just to vote for you.
So you need to initiate some fundraising. It's going to take a lot of money to.
It's actually not going to take me a lot of money. I can tell. I know the math. I've done the math. I had multiple political strategists, multiple analysts look into this for me, and we all came up with the exact same number. And the fact of the matter is, we know our the establishment candidates are going to be spending about $1 million a month against us for a total of $3 million plus over the next 3 months. And by our calculations, we're going to need a tiny fraction of the funding in order to have a campaign that outperforms them significantly. And not only does that show what it means for the election, it's just going to show what it's going to mean for our administration of how much more efficient and how much more effective we are.
Laro asks, will the Canadian truckers receive a refund if you're elected?
If I had the power to do that, if there were companies based out of Toronto and I had the ability to reverse their business license cancellations, I would do that. But some companies were in other provinces, some companies were in other, so there's some things I would have absolutely no power over. But for people that did have it, I would help. And if anybody in Toronto still had their bank accounts frozen, they'd be unfrozen, because I think that is absolutely ludicrous. And it's something out of Stalin's Russia or Nazi Germany, and that has no place in Canada for no reason whatsoever, especially for people standing up for freedom. And so I disagree with you, Rick. My support's not just in the freedom movement.
Yeah.
My support is a lot faster than that. Sure. I got people all day long, people that wear masks, people that took the jab, coming up to me everywhere I go. When I went to the gym yesterday, I had to take pictures with at least 50 different people, young women to old men and everything in between. Why? Because they believe in everything I stand for. So even the people that took the jabs, even the people that wear the masks appreciate me. Even the people on the far left that hate me. You can talk to a lot of people that do not like me, but they will still agree that I would make a great mayor, because they love the idea of having a strong warrior as their dog in the fight. And they know that I might tell them something they don't want to hear, but I would never lie to them, and I'd never stab them in the back. So my support base is a lot further and a lot wider than people realize. And if I was wrong about that, the media would happily put me in there. But they don't, because they know the moment people recognize me, the moment people hear me speak, they're going to understand and resonate with what I say.
I think your support base also comes from people that have been fucked over by this government, and that's a lot of people. A lot more people than you think.
How many people lost their jobs for one reason or the other? How many people had their businesses closed down, even though they took a vaccine and wore a mask? The government disenfranchised millions and millions and millions of Canadians. And the biggest thing is, they lost the trust. Canadians were the most trusting people on planet Earth. They trusted the government, they trusted the media, they trusted their doctors. Now, they don't trust any of them.
Before the freedom movement, Chris, came along, okay, I'm a owner of a marijuana business in 2018 that opened the day that they legalized. 21 days later, I was ejected from the property I was on. They put their locks on. Okay, kicked us out. I was stuck to pay 5-year lease at $13,000 a year. Okay, luckily I had it, paid it, whatever, right? And I'm still through the courts right now on something that was legal called cannabis. Okay, and we've been fighting for these rights just for the cannabis activism my whole life. I got 33 now, I think, charges for cannabis. Okay, it spent a couple of years in prison. 27 years of my life's been on probation, parole, or bail, some sort of condition. This is not free, okay? And I'm still on bail as we speak right now. That's why I know where you're headed. I'm not going to tell anybody where you're headed tomorrow, but I'm not allowed in that place. Okay, I'm banned. It is what it is, right? I know if I say it on here, you'll have 10,000 people show up as usual, right? But I'm not going to. It's a secret. We know the same people that are involved. Okay, and he just told me, I know what you're down here for, and I love what you're down here for. But the word freedom to me, okay. Yeah, they say it's legal. Cannabis is legal, but why am I still before the courts? I gave away $1 million worth of cannabis to feed the hungry, and it's all documented on legacy media. They've had their heyday with me, this and that, right? But I'm still before the courts, and now they're asking 18 months to 22 months, or just over 2 years in jail, okay, for giving away marijuana for food to help the poor, right? And Doug Ford's partly to blame, okay, because he brought out the legislation. Me, I'm part to blame too. I get it. But if you're going to call it legal, it's not legal, right? So I've been fucked around, and everybody in the 420 movement, and there's a lot of people in the 420 movement, Chris, that are on your side in Toronto, okay, right across the country, right across North America.
You answered your own question, because legal and decriminalize are two totally different things. Legal just allows them to make a whole new list of rules for them to tax you and charge you and fine you and arrest you. Decriminalized would have made it completely okay for you to do whatever you want with the substance. So when they say they're going to legalize something, that just means they're going to take control of it in a way that allows them to profit off it and allows them to control you with it.
Crazy.
You've done a lot of protesting. Weldon's talking about a big protest coming up this week. How would you deal with protests and protesters as the mayor? Things like the tent city at Nathan Phillips Square, things like that.
A tent city wasn't really a protest. The tent city was more of people just trying to live there. And I would be more compassionate. I would try to create the conditions where there's no need for a tent city, because those people would have government housing that they could go to, and they would have job programs that would reemploy them, and they would have mental health programs or drug rehabilitation programs that would help them. So they wouldn't have to live in tents. They wouldn't be on the streets. And if we did have people in that scenario, I would show them compassion, and we would do what we can to help get them out of that situation. We definitely wouldn't bulldoze it and drag them out of there. And the same thing with protesters. When we have protesters like we had in Ottawa, I was there for multiple days. We literally had bouncy castles. We had children playing hockey. We had people giving away free food, and everyone was hugging and shaking and holding hands and singing and laughing. There was not one iota of violence. There was not one iota of people smashing windows or doing anything to vandalize. But meanwhile, we had a militarized police response that cost how many millions we don't even know, maybe even more. And what did they do? They beat up citizens. They trampled old ladies. They absolutely destroyed the relationship between the police and the people. And that was a complete violation of the rights. And it was so heavy-handed because the government knew they were wrong. First of all, when I'm mayor, there probably won't be protests like that, because the people would actually be happy. And they wouldn't have a reason to protest. And if they did have a reason to protest, you know what? I'd want to go out there and I'd want to ask them why they're there and what they're protesting against. I wouldn't send 100 police officers in buses with riot gear that were paying triple overtime salary to go intimidate them, beat them, and arrest them. I would go there with my security team and I would address them and say, what's the problem here? And how can I help you? So we don't have to have these protests. Imagine that. Imagine a mayor that actually cared.
That's all we're looking for in politics. And I haven't seen that in 25 years, where a politician came out to greet the protesters and get to the core of the situation.
Except of course, when Trudeau went for his photo op with BLM when he was kneeling.
Truth. Very
well,
true.
You had a police chief in Toronto who also knelt with BLM. How do you feel about that?
Well, considering that we all know that BLM and Antifa are intelligence operations, and BLM is anything but a black rights movement, we all know that BLM is not even run really by black people. We all know that BLM raised hundreds of millions of dollars and gave it straight to Joe Biden, and then used the rest of the money to buy up multi-million-dollar houses for their higher-up members. And we also know that Antifa is run by the same type of people and is listed as a terrorist organization in the U.S. And we also know that Trudeau himself was funding Antifa through the Anti-Hate Network and his good buddy Bernie Farber. So that's what I think about those plays. I wouldn't support those groups because we know that they're intelligence operations, we know they're terrorist organizations, and we know there are ways that the government gives dirty money to them to do things that the government wants done that they want plausible deniability for. Oops, sorry, did I just expose more corruption?
So if you're on the police services board, you'll be, I guess, addressing these progressive left.
Well, they have a right to protest like everybody else.
You know,
they have a right to protest like everybody else, but I wouldn't give them preferential or special treatment like they've been getting through from Trudeau's government. A helicopter escort, police escort, all this positive media coverage. No, they would just get to protest like everybody else. I wouldn't make a spectacle of it because they probably wouldn't be protesting, because every time those people are protesting, it's for another agenda.
Well, I'm kind of referring to what you're going to do in those meetings, because I've listened to police services board meetings out of Toronto, and they, you know, they're all in on systemic racism as a big issue that they're dealing with through programs and so on. So what is your view on that?
I believe that that's just another method to create division and create more control. As we all know, Toronto is probably the most multicultural city in the world, where every race and every type of people, including a vast LGBT community, are widely accepted and even embraced and encouraged in every aspect. So that whole idea of systemic racism and this whole idea of gender ideology and all that is just more points of division and more ways to divide society, so government can create problems where they can get more power and control. And I would do the exact opposite. I would increase race relations between everybody, and I would downplay this ridiculous idea of so-called systemic racism.
Wow.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
The back to what was his name? Rob
Carbone.
Carbone. Is that the same Rob Carbone that was in the Michael DeGroat casino? Nick Rizzuto, the mafia.
No, it's not. It's not. That's a different Rob Carbone.
Okay, that's a different Rob Carbone. Okay.
Yeah, it's a common name. Just like there's another guy named Chris Saccoccia that has a big criminal record that they try to pretend is me, but it's not.
Yeah. Do you want to address that? Because I had people sending me information about that. And I know you're on another program where they were accusing you of things that you had not actually done. Can you just
100%.
shed some light on that? Because I didn't bite on that at all.
Yes, there's another gentleman by the name of Chris Saccoccia. And in fact, I believe he even went to the same high school as my sisters. And that's what makes it even more funny, because I didn't go to the same high school as my two sisters, but this other guy with the same name did. And he's actually 4 years older than me. He's not related to me in any way. He has a different birthday than me. But he also has a laundry list of charges, including heroin charges, gun charges, gang charges, snitching on people. He spent 33 months in jail. So obviously, if that was me, I would have never had a firearms license to have my firearms confiscated. I wouldn't have been traveling all over the world because I wouldn't be able to. And I wouldn't be eligible to run for mayor. So it's ridiculous that people would even try to proliferate that it was me, but they were. And the reality is that even though I've been arrested 26 times in the last 28 months and charged with over 60 offenses, both criminal and public health act, I have absolutely no criminal record whatsoever.
I love it.
Now, I have to say that I've had other, I keep hearing things like, Chris is just controlled opposition. He's a Fed. That's why they arrest him, and he still gets to travel to other countries. Do you want to address those kinds of allegations?
Well, first of all, if I was a Fed and they weren't worried about me, they wouldn't be banning me from airports, trying to stop me from flying here. They wouldn't be arresting me in the airport. They wouldn't be trying to stop me from running in the election. They wouldn't have Pierre Poilievre's lawyer sending me lawyers' letters, and I wouldn't have been charged with over 60 offenses. They're doing that to try to dissuade me and try to test my resilience. But the thing is, I actually know about the law, so I don't break it. So every time they arrest me, They are the ones breaking the law, which is why I can continue to get bail and why I beat the charges. You think it's an accident that I just went to court for a 5-day trial, a heated trial, and the judge just deliberated over a month and found me not guilty because I'm secretly working for the government, yet not being paid by anybody, yet exposing the government at every turn, and yet doing everything I can to actually help the people? It's absolutely ridiculous. And I want to say, what did any of these other mayoral candidates do the last 3 years to help anybody but themselves? What did they do? Absolutely nothing. What did I do? Well, I started 2 nonprofits, one called Back to Work in April 2020 because I foresaw the massive rush of business closures coming. And I personally saved dozens, if not hundreds of businesses from foreclosing. Then I started a nonprofit called Mothers Against Distancing to try to inform mothers how the psychological damage and social isolation and mask wearing on their children would be far worse for their health than the potential of catching COVID. We even tried to open up schools for the private school sector, where I paid my own money and actually got it approved by the Ontario School Board, only to have every one of my locations disqualified by the federal government under the auspice of not meeting zoning bylaws, which would easily be amended by minor variance applications if it was anybody else. But for me, they use it as ways to stop me from being able to get safe schools for children. So these are the kind of things I did. When Trudeau canceled the Santa Claus parade, the biggest, most iconic event in Canadian history in Toronto every year, I did a press conference that said, I'm going to do it anyway. And I raised tens of thousands of dollars. I had 7 professionally made floats from the same people that make them for the Santa Claus parade. We did a toy drive where we got 500 toys raised. And we set up at Dundas Square in Toronto, the only place where you could take pictures with a professional Santa Claus. And once you had the free picture, your child could go to the toy mountain and pick any of the 500 toys they wanted. And when I arrived on scene, the police ran over to me and they gave me a police escort, and they blocked every street from Yonge and Dundas all the way to Yonge and St. Clair. And I marched with the police around me behind that parade. And when the parade was all said and done, you know what they did? They arrested me and charged me.
They gated you. You know, you could be accused, okay, of a crime, but being convicted are 2 different things, right?
Exactly. So, and if you don't have a criminal record, you're not going to be banned from any country, ladies and gentlemen. You could have killed somebody. You could have a murder charge, and I can still get you a Mexican residency right now if you want. And you can fly to Mexico, no problem. So you're trying to tell me that if I got arrested for speaking out to more than 100 people, they're not going to let me fly to London, or they're not going to let me fly to a different country? Are you guys out of your mind?
I'm not allowed in the U.S. because of marijuana charges, period.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's coming up on 8 o'clock, and I know you've got another appointment. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up or think that we might be missing?
Honestly, I just want everybody to understand how important this election is. I believe that this is the biggest opportunity we had in the last 3 years to really make a difference and really help the people and really put a hold on this Agenda 2030 that is going to be a huge effect on all of our lives, not just in the short term, but in the long term. That's what people need to realize. We're fighting now for the future generations. I'm going out and I'm talking to kids that are like 18 and 19 to make sure they understand what's going on. Because if our job as older citizens, I'm 40 years old now, our job is to make sure that the children growing up now have equal or better opportunity than us. And that's going to require vigilance. That's going to require good people like us to get involved. And that's going to require people willing to do the right thing. And I am willing to do the right thing. And that's why I believe I'm the best candidate for mayor of Toronto. Thank you.
Well, I'd love to have you back on again, Chris. It's been a great conversation over the last hour, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate the questions you ask, because it's very refreshing that I get to actually talk about what I would like to do, because everybody else likes to ask superficial questions or ask questions about me. But really, this is about what I want to do for the people.
Yeah, well, I asked very specific questions about specific issues in Toronto, and I was actually impressed with the answers that you gave. You're well versed in the issues.
Thank
So
you. That's what I pride myself on. I pride myself on being on top of the issues. I pride myself on being a man who keeps my promises. I pride myself on being a man of integrity and a man who is willing to help people on an individual, personal basis.
Thank you very much, Chris Skye. We'll get you back on. Anything else, Leo, before we sign off?
Yeah, Chris, thanks for coming on the show. Rick's got a lot of followers now. I think he's at about 400 watching right now live. Okay, it is what it is. Somebody said alternative news. I don't like to call it alternative news, but it is news.
Just call it real news.
He's getting a lot of people with a lot of substance, on this show. And it's always great to see you. Enjoy my town tomorrow. If I don't see you, I will see you when you're down at the riverfront, brother.
100%. God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rick.
Take care. Bye for now. Chris Skye, what do you think, Leo?
You know what? He's, like I said, he's young, vibrant, a man of substance. He could go far in politics, right? That's what you need to shake it up, okay? Somebody that's real, somebody that's been screwed over, okay, that knows what time of day it is. And Chris Skye knows exactly what time of day it is. He's smart, okay? 32 convictions or 32 charges and beat him, okay? No convictions. So the government was wrong. He's been talking about a lot of things. I've been watching him for the last couple of years. And everything that he said, he's been spot on, Rick. It's like a fortune teller. Okay, the 15-minute cities and everything else. And I wanted to ask him about the Gardner Highway. If you go to Lakeshore Boulevard in Toronto, my brother has a condo down there where you take the tugboat or the boat buses over to the Toronto Island.
Yep.
As soon as you walk out of his condo, you get on the boat and go over to the Toronto Island. Very nice neighborhood. Okay, and all the way down that Lakeshore Boulevard down to the breweries, it's like a 15-minute city now. Okay, crime stops on that side of the Gardner on Lakeshore Boulevard. There's no crime at all. It reminded me of West Vancouver. Okay, they keep all the shit out of that side of the town for some reason, and the way that they do it is using the Gardner Highway, right? So it's like a 15-minute safe city for people, but you got to have this in order to live down around Lakeshore Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that, you're down on Jane and Finch.
Well, I asked him, some very specific issues about local, Toronto-centric issues because he's going to be the mayor, and he's tuned in. He's aware of the issues. He's done his homework.
Look at the Ford family. Okay, they're a bunch of village idiots. Not very well educated, not very well spoken, not articulate at all. And look how far they've gone in politics. Okay, starting from the city era. Okay, not only Rob Ford becoming the mayor, of Toronto, and getting caught in a scandal with the crack and the hookers and everything else that he was doing, and a lot of people respected him at the end of the day, even after all that. Okay, now I don't trust crackheads, period, because when they'll go as far as to give oral sex for their next high, okay, and you're running the city of Toronto, you're going to allocate money from the taxpayers in order to get high. Okay, plain and simple. I don't trust crackheads, crack dealers, meth heads, any of that, heroin heads, fentanyl heads. Okay, I just don't, because they will stab you in the back at the end of the day, right? But that seat, that mayor seat, there's no scandal with Chris Skye. There's none. John Tory, I'd like to see at the end of the day really why he had to leave the office. Was it with for sexual relationships with his intern, or was it with a little boy? Or there's always something at the end of the day, and I don't think it was over sexual interference going on with his intern. Okay, because if I had a sexual relationship with somebody and I was sitting at the mayor's job, I'd tell my wife about it and ask for forgiveness. Either forgive me or divorce me. Simple. Okay, that's my job. That's my livelihood. It don't matter what you do, right? So, like I told him the last time, get rid of that couch that's in the mayor's seat because it stinks. Okay, there's a lot of sex and a lot of drugs that have been on that couch in the mayor's seat And that should be the first thing he dumps as soon as he gets in there. But he does have a following, like I said, huge following. Anybody that's ever been struck by the government at all levels, from municipal, provincial to federal. Okay, here's a guy here with some substance. He's been screwed over and he beat the system, and I love it. I really do.
So they have. Let me just see how many candidates. I'll bring it up on the screen here so people can see. They already have quite a few listed. Of course, they did not include him in this Toronto Star listing. Anna Bio, Bradford, Chloe Brown, Olivia Chow, NDP, MP, former. Rob Davis, Anthony
That's Jack
Fury.
Layton's ex-wife, right? Olivia Chow.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So the
Stephen
ex-head of
Holiday.
the NDP party, the only guy that I thought could have been a really good prime minister, that's his wife. Is she running in the? She was running in the Spadina area, wasn't she? In that ward.
Yeah, she's a former Metro and Toronto City Councillor, former NDP Member of Parliament. She's currently Executive Director of the Institute for Change Leaders, which she founded in 2016, originally from Hong Kong. Chow was a councillor for 14 years, championing progressive causes, including subsidized childcare and co-op housing, with her late husband and council colleague, Jack Layton. She ran in the 2014 Toronto mayoral race, finishing third behind John Tory and Doug Ford, and then Doug Ford went on to become premier.
Well, you know what you're getting with Olivia Chow anyways. At the end of the day, you're getting NDP. Because once NDP and her husband was a leader, you're not taking that out of her blood. So you're getting NDP, which she is also, if you're NDP, you're also a liberal by the looks of it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's what you're getting with Chow.
Stephen Holiday, a city councillor. Mitzi Hunter, a liberal member of provincial parliament from Scarborough-Guildwood. Giorgio Mamalidi, a former city councillor. Josh Matlow, a city councillor who, you talk about John Tory and his affair with that staffer, actually is what it is, not an intern, but, Josh Matlow being held accountable for just tweeting out some criticism of municipal employees and then being recommended for a 10-day pay dock by the Integrity Commissioner. So the code of conduct for the municipality in Toronto is quite high. I actually wanted to talk to Chris a little bit about that, to see if he saw that as an issue that might be something, but maybe for the next time. Gil Penalosa, an urbanist, former mayoral candidate. Mark Saunders, the former police chief. You talk about systemic racism, wokeism. Mark Saunders, all in on that. I've listened to a number of police services board meetings where he has spoken. I've listened to interviews. Chris Skye, I see his position on systemic racism. I think he'll find himself at odds with just about everybody else on that board. And is Mel
Lashman's son on there? Remember Mel Lashman?
Oh, I remember Mel. Yeah.
Nobody.
Who else do we have? Mike Layton.
The mayor I really liked, Rick.
Yeah, Mike Layton, former city councillor, son of Jack Layton.
Oh, really? So mom, that's not, obviously he's not half Asian, so it can't be the genetic mother, Olivia Chow.
Yeah, he's the stepson of Olivia Chow. Yeah.
So they're trying to double down on it, right? Get the whole family running.
I guess so.
Cut your odds.
Yeah, I find that a little odd, actually, that they would run against each other, but politics makes not only strange bedfellows, but adversaries as well, I guess. Jennifer Keys, Matt, former chief city planner. Joe Cressy, former city councillor. Jennifer McElvey, deputy mayor right now. She's actually filling in the void left by John Tory's absence at the moment. And Denzel Minan Wong, former city councillor. So those are the other people listed, and they didn't put Chris Skye on the list.
And you know why, right?
Because tell me what your view is.
They were probably praying that he would have got a conviction. Okay, because once you would have been convicted, then you're a criminal. You're not running. You're out of the game. So why even try? but he just beat the 32 charges, right? So he's not convicted. He's as law-abiding as Rick Walker. Okay, so they got to respect that. And Chris Skye, okay, I never heard of any of those clowns on there but Olivia Chow. Okay, the only one I've heard of before is Olivia Chow. Now was because of who her husband was, her late husband. Okay, Chris Skye is much bigger than all those guys. Social media is going to do the trick for Chris Skye. Social media is 10 times bigger than mainstream media. People stop listening to mainstream media. You know, what do they call it? A rag? The Toronto Sun, Toronto Star, they're rags.
Yeah, they're rags, yeah.
Who reads the rags anymore? I don't. Even I got good friends that are reporters, okay? This is funny. My ex-girlfriend, Rick, I put her through journalism school, and she wound up reporting in the Vancouver province paper, right? That's her job.
Yeah.
And when we were 23 years old, 24 years old, I sold a lot of weed in order to put her through school, right? And she took journalism school, and she's a journalist today, right? So she could thank me later if I ever talk to her again, right? But
I see this as, with that number of candidates, I see that helping Chris Skye. They're going to split that vote up, and he's going to have a consolidated base of support, and probably appeal, like he said, to people who otherwise might not vote. He's going to reach across the political spectrum, I think, more than people realize. And because he's colorful, charismatic, and he has that social media power, I think he's a contender.
They can't even hit him with the word racist, Rick, and I'll tell you why. Okay, I don't know if you noticed. I've seen his wife before. She's a beautiful woman. Okay, I've talked to her a couple times. She's of Asian descent.
Okay.
So they can't play the race card with him, and he's been with her for what, 12 years? He said. Okay, so
yeah.
You know,
I didn't realize. I never paid much attention.
Yeah.
To her ethnicity
Right.
at all. I've seen her around. Never thought much about it.
So that just throws out the race card out of the whole race, because they'd go after that.
Well, they've already called him a racist. They played that card multiple times. Go look at the interview he did on Rebel News. You familiar with that?
What, Rebel News? Never heard of him before. I only listen to Rick Walker News.
Yeah, but you've seen what happened there. He left the set, right? You saw that
100%. Yeah.
So they've tried to do that.
That's politics for you, right? They're going to go down dirty and try and get all your little dirty little secrets. Olivia Chow have investigators all over Chris Skye, following him around. As soon as he makes a mistake, boom, boom, boom. They'll try and use adultery. They'll try and they'll go as far as planting drugs. I've seen it in politics. Planting drugs on incumbents, okay, and then having the police raid them. You're out of the race. Adios, amigos, right? This has been going on a long time, okay? Smear campaigns is what they call it, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I asked some pretty tough questions, but I think I was fair. I tried to focus on the issues here tonight, and he stepped up. I have to give him credit. I asked him some very specific questions. He came back with some very strong answers. I was impressed, to be quite honest with you.
Imagine you interviewing Rob Ford. Okay.
Rob Ford? You mean the late Rob Ford?
Yeah, the dead one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The crackhead, right? Imagine you.
That would have been a little different.
What a big difference between Rob Ford and Chris Skye. What a big difference. Okay. I don't think he could hold a sentence, Rob Ford. Okay. And Doug Ford also, right? Either one of them. But look how far it's taken them in politics, right? Some said, up until the last election, that Doug Ford could have actually ran for the conservative federal party. It probably would have won. Okay, by the way he talked, the way he looked, the things he was doing things, right? Now, the best thing that I see from Doug Ford today is he's not on social media. I haven't seen any of Doug Ford's Facebook pages, this and that. So it was tearing him apart. Every time he'd post something, somebody write something derogatory back to him, right? The things that he's doing, right? And Justin Trudeau, he's on there, and every time I see it pop up on Facebook, I always have to comment. He's not doing a good job at all, right? And his support base, everybody that says, "Oh, you're the best prime minister in the world," they're all coming from India. You know, if you look at their profiles, they're not even Canadian citizens, man, on his Facebook page. You know, and he's getting all this support that he thinks he's getting this support. Man, oh man.
So give me your opinion on the strong mayor's powers. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm referring to? He was talking about it. And I'll explain it just to tee this up. And then I want your opinion. The provincial government has a new Bill 3 gives the mayors of Toronto and Ottawa special powers. They can veto votes. They can veto certain bylaws,
right,
as they're voted on, right? So even with the budget, if the budget doesn't look like it's going to pass, he can basically issue an executive order to have it passed, right?
Right.
And the reason the government did that essentially was to expedite building permits and funding for building projects, I think, because they want to build a lot of houses, like I think 150,000 new houses or something over the next 10 years or something. So a lot of homes anyway. And they want to expedite that process. But by giving that special power to someone like the mayor of Toronto, there are concerns that power might be abused. So there was a lot of attention focused on John Tory. Would he use the strong mayor's powers to get his budget passed? And ultimately, he didn't need to do that, as he passed this last budget just a month ago. But Chris Skye is sitting here saying that he's going to use that power extensively to jam through the things that he wants to get through. What are your views on that? Is that democracy, or is that a dictatorial style of governance?
If it's used properly, Rick, okay, now if it's used improperly, and I would be like, hey, Ricky Walker coming to my office and saying, hey, I want to build that condo place downtown, but I'm getting the shaft from everybody else. Here's an extra couple of million in your back pocket. Let it slide through. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's going to create corruption, okay? But if it's used in the right way, okay, and that the right way would be transparent, nothing behind closed doors. You know, if I was the mayor of Windsor, it'll never happen, not in this lifetime, but if I was the mayor of Windsor, I'd be open to the public on every meeting. I'd be Facebook Live. And if you don't like it, get out of the stinking meeting. Plain and simple. People need to hear what's going on in city council. They need to hear what's going on provincially. They need to hear what's going on federally. No redactions, nothing. What's said live is live, okay, period. Yeah. And that's what they need to start doing, is live videos, nothing behind closed doors, because that's when all the corruption happens, is behind closed doors, right?
But now, could you imagine, like, even the prime minister doesn't have that kind of power, right? Right. You get one vote. Like, you're the mayor of Windsor. The mayor of Windsor gets a vote, but doesn't have veto powers. He doesn't have these powers that the mayor of Toronto has, that the mayor of Ottawa now has. And Chris Skye is saying that he's good. If he's elected, he will use it to promote further his agenda, which is
no 15-minute cities,
all of that stuff, right? But people on the other side would say, you know, or whatever the issue might be, you know, maybe they want to install these smart city or smart, you know, street lights or whatever, and he's going to say no. And you've got other people, other councillors saying, yeah, we want them in our neighborhood. And then he's saying, no, I'm vetoing that. Is that democracy?
It's not. That's not democracy in my eyes. Okay. I've sat on delegations with my city council and mayor, okay, especially on the legalization of marijuana before the stores even came. I sat on a delegation, and I went up and I spoke in front of City Hall, and then they voted on it, okay? And yay, at the end of the day, right, it did pass for stores. That's what I was delegating for that time around, right? Stores, and I was against the stores, the legal stores anyways, right? Because obviously I was trying to protect my own interests at that time. And everybody in the room knew, the big elephant in that room knew exactly who I was and what I was about, right? And me, I just wanted to free the weed. And if I could use it as a tool to wipe out hunger and homelessness, simple, right? But for them to have that executive order, that's too much power for a mayor.
Yeah, well, he'll have it, and that's what he would use to prevent a lot of these globalist ideas, you know. So I mean, I don't have an issue with him standing in the way of these programs, but it's a complicated issue, right?
We have to trust in who we vote for, right? And that's the thing, right? We've seen so much corruption over the years. Like I said, if you're going to give me an extra couple of $1 million so you and your family could build your condominium complex downtown Toronto, you know I'm passing that shit. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? I'm passing that, and I'm taking the $2 million cash and putting it in my Swiss bank account because I'm a crook. Okay, you're never going to change that in me, right? So that's the way it is. Like I said, if you're going to go Facebook Live or YouTube Live every meeting, every second in City Hall, even when you're using these executive meetings, that's a different story, right? But where do they draw the line? You know, there's going to be a lot of backdoor deals going on, Rick, and I'm not about that at all, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to be as transparent as the glass in my house. That's why I clean it every 5 or 6 years.
Well, the Strong Mayors
so you can't see
Act,
through.
you know, that's all new. So we'll have to see how these mayors in Ottawa and Toronto end up using that additional power over time to see if it works or if it doesn't work. And I guess if it's not working, the province can rescind that. But if it is working and it's resulting in positive things, that's a good thing too. I don't know. It's something that they have used in some US cities. I haven't looked at it that closely to see what the track record is like down there, but it's very interesting, you know, and interesting to see how he's looking at that as a solution to some of the really serious big issues facing Canadian society right now, not just Toronto. And it's
I've
true.
never heard of it till you just mentioned it today.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, it's kind of a big deal. He's right too, you know, and this is, you know,
it's not his fault, Rick. Hey, it's not his fault. Okay. He's running for mayor.
Yeah. I mean, it's there.
It's there.
It's a power that's available to him if he's elected, and he says he will use it in this way. And any mayor coming in can use it in whatever way they decide to use it. It's not, see, it's very much like being a president of a city. Like the president of the United States can write an executive order. It's very much in the same vein as that.
Yeah.
But it's at the municipal level. And he's quite right when he looks at Toronto as being integral, a trend-setting municipality. You affect change in Toronto, and you're setting off a domino effect that has impact across not just the country, but, you know, internationally as well, because Toronto is an international city. And these kinds of globally focused policies do come down in Toronto, and Toronto is an integral part of all of that. I've been saying for a long time, if you want to make change, you get involved at the municipal level, your school board, your city council, run for mayor, you know, get involved at the local level, because you can affect more change there than you realize. You don't need to be a member of parliament or a member of provincial parliament. All of those policies trickle down, and the enforcement, the implementation of all of those programs comes down to the local level. And even enforcement comes down to your local police service, which, if you're the mayor, you get to sit on the police services board if you choose to.
Yeah, I should have told Chris Skye to watch where he gets his money for his campaigns from. You don't want any interference at this time. And it don't have to be Chinese. It could be Russian, could be American, whatever, right? You don't want any interference in your election. Just keep it as clean as possible. That's what he has to do, right? But I've seen stranger things happen.
So what do you think? What are his chances? How do you see it shaking down?
Well, you know what? I come from a betting town with Caesars Casino only being a mile from my house. And if I was to take a bet on it, he's probably got about a 70% chance, okay, of becoming the mayor. I've seen stranger things happen. He's smart. He's articulate. He's got to get out. He's got to run hard. He's got to knock on a lot of doors, okay, plain and simple. He's got to get to people. And the word social media is going to be his big thing because he's more social on social media than any of those clowns in the picture that you showed me of all the people that are running against him, right? I think he's got about a 70% chance, Rick. And that's why his face ain't in that paper in the rag. Because
Yeah,
they're
well, you
worried.
know what? After speaking to him, I've gone from I don't know to yeah, I think that he's probably going to win.
Well, hey, with
I've
everything that's
gone
going
from I
on,
don't know to that.
with everything that's going on, if you look at the counterparts provincially and federally, and you look what's going on, it's not. It don't take rocket science, okay, for Chris Skye to win it. Okay, he's there for the people. That's the key thing. If you're not there for the people, you know, Chris Skye could say all that he wants, and he talks a great talk. I just hope that he walks a great walk at the end of the day, like his talk, because he's a smooth operator.
Yeah.
Okay, he's young, he's flamboyant. Okay, he relates to all of it, to everybody. Okay, and that's the key thing. You got to relate to everybody in order to win it.
Like I will say this. I don't think he will achieve all the things that he says that he will do because he's going to run up against more opposition than anybody can even imagine because he's going to run against the grain with the majority of the people on the police services board and on council. Both.
Imagine how fast his executive order that that blue card he's going to have in his back pocket called the executive order, how fast they take that away from him. Okay. They're going to go, oh, we made a mistake, especially he says no 15-minute cities. Guess what? The next, we're going to call it scamdemic. We'll call it cars instead of with the S. I don't want to get you banned. We'll call it cars. And guess what? Here's Chris Skye that's not going to listen to the health minister because you know what? Why should you? Look where we are today. I'm 53.
I mean,
just I'm 53 years old, Rick.
Just tune into any of those council meetings. You can also find, the feeds for the police services board meetings. I've listened to them on the radio just driving back from Toronto. Sometimes they're broadcast.
That's crazy.
And you'll hear that it's diametrically opposed to his position ideologically. Systemic racism, oh yeah, I mean, you don't dare oppose that. You have to acknowledge it as being a serious thing, and then all of the policies now revolve around that at the police in the Toronto Police Service. So for him to go in there as sort of the sole person who would be opposed to that, he's going to have sharks around him trying to take a bite out of him constantly. So an uphill battle, but once you're there and you've got that mayor's position, you can push back pretty hard from that platform.
Well, they'll take that veto card away from him so fast if he did a fraction of what he said he was going to do, and he used that veto card. Wow.
Yeah. Well, if you have, as I understand the law, if council comes back and votes 2/3 against him, they can overturn his veto. So there is that check and balance in place. But again, it's all very new for Toronto and Ottawa only. I don't think any other municipalities in Canada have that. And certainly it's an Ontario thing anyway. So those are the two main municipalities that have it right now. And it's a new deal. So a lot of people were looking at John Tory wondering how he was going to use it. They were worried that he was going to use it. Because it's an end run around democracy in the view of some, right? It is, but it isn't. So he's saying he's going to use it. Chris Skye says he'll use it extensively. It will become an issue.
Donald Trump used it extensively too, right?
All the presidents do. They all use it.
On his first
Obama,
day.
all of them do. Yeah. Well, that's the first thing Biden did, but he used his executive powers to overturn all of the executive decisions that Trump made. Then you elect the next guy and he overturns everything and puts what he wants in there.
Pierre Poilievre, what's he say? The first move he wants to do is get rid of the carbon tax.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying though. Even the prime minister does not have that level of power. The prime minister only gets a vote. He can't just sign, right? What he does have is his party whip to get all of his members of parliament to vote according to what the party platform is and what he wants.
The only way the prime minister has that power is when he's a majority holder.
That's
right?
true too. Well, to a
Right.
degree, yeah, that's true.
Right. So he's got a coalition right now that's acting, a minority party acting as a majority, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah.
Right. I don't get it at all. Look at Christine Freeland. I don't know who did her makeup. Like I said, man, Anderson's funeral home. It's sickening, right? It's sickening what I'm seeing in the world today, Rick. And you know, I'm blessed. I'm not taking anything for granted. I'm just blessed that I got my scruples together today, because shit, 20 years ago, I wouldn't give a shit about any of these politicians, okay, at all, man.
Yeah.
And I feel really sad for the next generation coming up, and that's my kids, your grandkids, my grandkids. Man, they're gonna have it tough, bud. Really tough.
Well, he's going to have a tough job if he does get elected, no matter what. He is ambitious, but it's not an easy gig, and he's inheriting a financial situation that is difficult. John Tory had to go cap in hand to Justin Trudeau to get a $2 billion bailout because they didn't have enough money to sustain the
police,
the programs that they have in place. Right? They had a shortfall. Now they've got
what
a
did they say?
900
What is it per year? Their budget?
16
billion,
0.1 billion, somewhere in that range. Yeah. Overall to run the city every year. And they just in this last budget, I believe it's a property tax hike for residential of about 5.5%. The commercial is 2.75. And I believe industrial is 5.4% tax increase. That being said, the mill rate in Toronto remains among the lowest in all of Canada, but that's because they have such high population density and high property values. So as a percentage of the value of the property, their mill rate is actually quite low. In fact, I think in Windsor, you've got a mill rate of about 1.8, and in Toronto, it's 0.6.
Wow.
It's that much of a difference percentage-wise on the mill rate. So
well,
in
my
Toronto,
property taxes,
so it's pretty good in Toronto, actually, for property taxes, because if you own a house that's worth, say, $1 million, you're paying just over $7,000 in property tax per year.
Not even PDS, Paul. We were talking about it last night on Discord, and he's paying, I think it was $4,200 per year. Okay, and he's in Toronto, and you're not getting anything in Toronto for under $1 million. And I'm paying in Windsor, I'm paying $2,200 a year. Yeah. It started out 20 years ago at $1,800, so I haven't gone up that much in 20 years, right?
Yeah.
But Paul, it looks like you're going up another 5% by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
You got to pay for the services of Toronto, right? But Toronto's a monster. You got 4.5 million people in that town, Rick.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I was seeing a thing on YouTube the other night that the 49th parallel, if you're to run straight from East Coast to West Coast, okay, is what, 5,000 kilometers, but it don't run that way, okay? Where we're at in southwestern Ontario, we're below the 49th parallel. 70% of the Canada's population lives below the 49th parallel, which is from Ottawa, Montreal, Windsor, London, Toronto, okay? 70% of our population. That's scary.
Well, all these municipalities are going to have big challenges in the next few years because of inflation, because they have limited power to tax. It's basically all property taxes that they collect their money from, some other fees and things like that, but primarily property taxes and transfer payments from higher levels of government. And they're not allowed to run operating deficits. They can run some capital deficits for long-term projects, but overall, they're not allowed to run deficits rather. So
I'm going to let you know first, Rick, because I haven't done my taxes. I always get scared at this time of year to even walk in to do my taxes, right? But I made $106,000 last year. I got my son that's still dependent on me. My wife don't work. It's just the three of us at home. I'm going to let you know if I get money back or if I'm paying. Right. So you'll be the first guy to know. And sounds like great numbers. I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm making 106 grand a year. Okay. Big deal. At the end of the day, I have nothing and I don't like it. Okay. I'm not taking no extravagant vacations. I can't even afford to go to the fucking Buck or two or to the corner store. I'm just like you at 50 grand a year or 60 grand a year. It's crazy. I can't save. I don't know how to save. I'm not putting in RSPs or TSFAs or any of that shit, right?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to live like everybody else, right? And I'm gonna find out what I get back if I get anything back. I highly doubt I'm gonna get anything back. The government really needs that money, right? At the end of the day, it's all about dollars and cents, and we're just a number for the government. We're born with that thing called social insurance number and a birth date, and that's how they track you, and that's how they bill you at the end of the day, right? So, you know, I'd hate to have to see a nationwide strike, but it's going to come because I'm not alone. Anybody below me, man, there's no more middle class, brother.
Times they've changed, and the struggle continues.
It does, Rick. If my struggle ends like this, since I'm the boss, I still got to go back to work and check out everybody, right? So it is what it is. Thanks. I want to thank everybody. Thanks for having me on the show, Rick. It's funny how Chris Skye was surprised when I knew where he was going to interviewers. But he has nothing to worry about down south here because he's got them all in the south. Like you got some added insulation protection from all the hoodlums, hooligans, and what else right? Because all you got to do is all the mouth. And somebody said, I'm the Pablo Escobar of cannabis down in Windsor. Maybe so. Many people might think so. If you Google my name, you'll read all the articles. My eyes, Pablo was somebody like Robin Hood, right? I don't look up to the guy who's murderous. I'm not. I'm all about peace, love, and happiness. And everybody in the group, okay, I'm going to say some shout outs. We got Cindy. We got Torrid, Divine Intervention, Jordan, Matt. Okay, Choosy, man, he's my favorite from Jersey. I just want to know, Choosy from Jersey, are you from 33rd Street in Jersey? Because I got some friends down there from the Luwazy, very lazy crime family in Jersey. That's pretty funny. Chicken Lady, we got Eminem, we got them all out there. I want to thank everybody for donating to Rick's show, by the way, too, right? He's get the super chats and everything else that's going on. Keep it coming in because Rick's got a great show, and I don't miss a lick. I don't, Rick. You know, I got a job. Look at where I don't have to miss a lick. So once I'm done the Rick Walker show, I get really busy at work. I think I sent you a video of me flipping a 44 or 45. I
saw that. Yeah.
Walk at 3:30 in the morning, right? 180 degrees with two cranes, and I do it so gracefully that I don't trust anybody else to do it because it's expensive when you break a crane or drop one of those jobs on the floor. Somebody gets killed at the end of the day, right? So I'd rather be in control of it and do it a safe thing, right? But I want to thank everybody, Rick. This is awesome. You'll have me back. Don't worry.
Thank you, Leo. It's been great. Good show. Thank you. There you have it. The mouth of the South. Thank you very much. What we're going to do here tonight is I'm going to, well, first of all, say thank you to everybody for hanging in there. And thank you to Chris Skye for joining us on the program tonight. That was a great interview. And thank you to Leo. Thank you to Weldon, Barry Thongman, and thank you to all you guys for joining us here on the program and participating in the chat. It's been a good show. I am going to rebroadcast this. Once we sign off here, I'm going to recycle this and broadcast just the portion with the interview that we just did with Chris Skye. So it'll get rebroadcast again for anybody that wants to come back in. If you missed any of it and you want to participate in the chat room, that will be open for all of you that want to take advantage of that. And I'll set that up probably within 10 or 15 minutes of signing off here tonight. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so at freedomreporters.com. Let me just bring that up for you here on the screen. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe as well. That helps it helps to get us up in the search engine rankings on YouTube. Make sure you hit the notification bell if you do subscribe on YouTube, and please consider subscribing over on Rumble. We are growing over there. We're also over on Twitch, and the rebroadcast goes up as well over on the other social media platforms like Gab and Clouthub and Bitchute, etc. So thank you, everyone. You can donate to the program at maverickdonations.com, or also, that's the, by the way, maverickdonations.com is Give, Send, Go, and this is the PayPal, freedomreporters.com. We certainly appreciate the support. And to those of you who are donating in the chat room tonight with the Super Chats, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It helps cover the expenses here, and it costs more to run this than people realize. I will be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the rebroadcast begins in probably about 10 minutes. So look for the notification, and you'll find us back on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch with the rebroadcast. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.